have to like actually start putting things out. And we
Okay.
brought up the point of, like we got to do some spring cleaning, make it look nice and pretty, and then cut the ribbon, if you will.
Yep. No, I understand. Also, just keep in mind that we have a luxury by being like, I know you might not think about it this way, but that we have a luxury by being so not seen, right? We're basically not on the radar for anybody right now. But the thing is that what that allows us to do is to kind of just mess around and like try out new things. So right now we're doing the same thing every time, whatever. Like we have our little thing that we do, but we have the freedom to experiment and try different things and then see what sticks. Kind of like if something isn't really working, we can change it, and there's no viewership that's going to get pissed with us or anything because we don't have one yet. So you could just just or see what we like too. It's not just what the
yeah, for
public
sure.
likes. It's both. We find our sweet spot, and then that's it. It's what do you like? What's the objective here? Like, you guys want to make a channel that's gonna just like get a huge viewer base, or is there something?
I guess we never really. I guess we never fully discussed that, to be honest. Like it
We
started
never
off
did at all.
as like Jacob, just like, hey, I got a couple of fucking gamer nerd friends. Let's talk about fucking Cyberpunk and how much it shit the bed, and then we just started from there, basically. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like today, we'll keep the discussion as to what Jacob had planned with the questions and whatnot. But I think it would be an interesting topic to kind of sit down at some point. Maybe even like instead of recording next Monday, we'll just sit down and kind of start finding ways to structure out the channel.
Yeah, I can dig that kind of work. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I guess what's making me a little cold about the whole Let's Play thing is that we tried and it fell apart like a week later.
I can't say that what we did was really trying. We recorded one live, like we were all playing Dark Souls or something. We were playing Drunk Souls.
No, we played Depths, we played Chivalry, we played Rocket League.
We did a lot of playing.
Yeah, but
We did a lot
we
of
had-
things. It
yeah, we
just
had
fell
footage,
apart.
but no one ever edited the videos, and Wes was supposed to do that, and he never did. Well, I mean, like I can't blame it on Wes. No one took the initiative to actually edit the videos and put something up. We
No,
have
because
plenty of footage.
I didn't
you know.
because I was busy doing the legwork of making icons and thumbnails and like I was
Once again,
waiting for
like,
videos to be edited.
Yeah, not to heap it on his shoulders, but Wes did volunteer, and he's like, "Oh, I got the Sony Vegas program and everything," so it made sense. But yeah, I feel like you shouldn't let that experience potentially like why exactly what Jillian says. We have the chance to experiment now. Why not try it? Why the fuck not?
Yeah, I'm open to anything.
I'm not close
Like,
to
and then,
trying.
like,
I'm just voicing concern. I'm
it
the
doesn't-
voice of
Nah,
reason in
for
the
sure.
back of your mind.
For sure,
Also,
for sure.
it's worth
And like,
pointing out.
hang on, I'll take a second. I'm sorry if I got a little heated.
all good.
I get very defensive when people interrupt me. It's
all
like
good.
killed me back in acting.
Yeah. But another thing worth pointing out is it doesn't have to be an either or. We can keep doing this long style podcast if for no other reason because it's fun just to shoot the shit with you guys for 3 hours while still making a podcast out of it. Like we can do stuff like, I know Louis, your schedule is a little tight, but you're still usually around, like you work today, right? Like there are other days where we could do other things too. Like you too, Julian. Like you're still looking, right? Mostly free. Like if we really want to like spread out and try things, then maybe we can do something on Wednesday morning or afternoon, or Friday, or even any other day of the week. Really, like as of now, until I go back to work, like especially if we're doing something where we're like putting together a video and doing work, like I can find the time for that pretty much whenever. So we can like continue to do these long style discussions on Monday. But if Dan, you want to do like we just get together, we pick a game and we play it like Minecraft or something or whatever,
Anything,
Rocket League one day just for your own enjoyment.
Oh, well, all right.
And we just play for an hour on Wednesdays. Like I'm sure we could all just find an hour, around this time on Wednesday to get together and play something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not 100% down, and like if we could all just if we could stack it all on the channel, like why not send out as many branches as we can? Try to attract as much of an audience, and once we have that variety, maybe that's when we could actually start sending it out a little bit more. Because I do agree that like anonymity is nice and all, but we'll never know what works if we don't test the waters.
Like I've been I've tried to doing some other things. Like I've put up a couple of my own videos since we've been doing the podcast. I've recorded I go on Twitch. I mean, I don't get any viewers except for like the occasional straggler, but I've been streaming a bit of Pathfinder every other day. And
I mean, all you need is
making
Mr. Beast to
videos out of
find you
that.
one day and
Yeah.
give you $10,000 or something. So why not?
So like, what I was saying is, you know,
You wouldn't
yeah,
be if you're not partnered.
there's nothing, you know,
Nah.
there's no reason not to expand, and I don't think it has to be a discussion of changing what we're doing. It's more of just doing more. Like,
Yeah,
regardless
I
of how many ideas we do, if all we're doing is 3 hours on a Monday, nothing's going to come of that.
Yeah, you
Uh,
never pick
I-
up speed if you do just one stream a day.
Yeah.
One stream a week.
Yeah, so that's why I try to stream. That's why I put up those 2 videos I put up, I think, a couple weeks ago, like trying to do a few other things here and there, and we could do more things together too, like playing Minecraft or I don't know, whatever few multiplayer games Julian will tolerate.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
basically.
Yeah, there's-
I mean, Steam's got like the
Short list.
couch co-op mode now, so like if there are some old school games that are on Steam that we can play like we'll play Tales of fucking Symphonia or something, you know? And
Yeah.
Zap
Or we
will
could
cream
play a
his pants.
single player game all together at the same time, like all streaming it, if we want to do
Yeah.
something more in Julian's.
Or like a horror game with one person behind the wheel and like the rest just
watching the stream,
watching
or
the
one
stream,
day
basically.
at the other person's house when we can be in together again.
Yeah, exactly.
But wait, okay, I should talk about this
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, no,
So
we're in it now. We're
realistically-
having the discussion now. Let's go.
Okay. So okay, this is pretty serious. Like you need to know that I'm going to eventually end up getting a 9 to 5.
Of course.
That's gonna end up. But when that happens, then I feel like I won't be able to be as committed. So I feel like I need you to be prepared for that, in the sense that like I don't want you to feel like I'm betraying you or anything. Like if
No,
I'm
no.
involved, then all of a sudden I'm gonna be kind of gone.
No.
So or like I could still do stuff like around my schedule, but I'll definitely lose like a ton of commitment to this thing once I'm
Man, everyone's got their own Yoko Ono, and if yours is a stable paying job, then you know more power to you. I can't complain.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, yeah,
obviously-
we're all kind of in that situation. Like I'm still waiting to go back to work whenever. Like we're all just kind of able to give it as much as we can now, and then hopefully by that point, you know, when everyone's got a stable such and such, we can. I mean, even if you just want to be on as a guest or something, you know.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have you
No,
a part
no
of it.
I'm like the only one here, other than like at least to my knowledge, I'm like the only one here who's really looking to make of streaming in YouTube like a living.
No, you're not the only one.
I mean, in the
Okay,
perfect
good
world,
to know.
trust me.
But like
I already-
The
for
reason
me,
why I
it's
had
not
this
a
idea
in a
wasn't
perfect
just
world.
to
It's
just
a
have
question
fun.
of when. Like I'm already working about as much as I need to, and all the rest of my time, if I can just go back to a daytime schedule, I'm streaming and YouTubing like full time. Forget it.
Mhm.
Like I'm planning my big return to daytime shifts in June, and then the rest is like I'm planning on getting as many like early shifts as possible, then quick nap, then I stream till my eyes can stay open, rinse, repeat.
Hey, there you go. What's the new schedule looking like? Or what
Right
would it look
now
like?
it's garbage, but
Yeah,
right now
but in
it's
the
still
future.
be. I don't know if I can get it to be like 6 to noon, and then start streaming at 1-ish, then I'd be happy. And then
6 to noon,
stream
5
till
days a
like
week,
8.
yeah.
Stream like 8 till like 8 or 9, and then just go to bed because I have to be up for 6 in the morning.
Jesus.
brutal.
I mean, I prefer it that way.
Well, if it works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
always did.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I'll admit, 7 a.m.s at the keg were
You get
tough
used to
start
it,
on,
dude.
but you get used to it, and then you just it's like you can never go back, and then you get unemployed for a year and a half, and then
And you
you're
get
just
back into the bad
right back
habit.
and waking up at 12. Yeah. Fucking ridiculous.
But the whole thing. Reason I'm saying this is also just because it could happen pretty much at any moment with me. Like it's obviously it's hard, so I mean it could not happen for a while, but it could at one point just randomly. Like, okay, now.
happen, dude.
I mean, hey, if yours, I hope it happens. Frankly.
But it will. It's just like it's more like, but it's so like
How's it, yeah.
it could, any moment, like kind of thing where it could be like now. It could be like next week. It could be in like August, but it could be like it's just going to be very sudden, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be like kind of.
It's okay. We need a level. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all. I just wanted you to have a realistic understanding of my situation here.
Yeah.
But the time being, yeah, I'm committed to this. Well,
I
at
mean,
least
for the simple fact that we're aware of it is already a nice step for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Gives
also,
us time
like,
to plan.
that also means that for yourself and for us, that we have to be careful of the kind of responsibilities that we throw your way regarding that whole process. Because we don't know if
Yeah, we
from
don't wanna-
one
yeah, we
minute
can't-
to the next
yeah.
can fulfill those responsibilities or not. But I mean, not that it's a high responsibility job as of yet.
No, and honestly, considering you could be gone any moment, like your level of commitment is just being here and participating. Like
We're
I don't-
just
Yeah.
happy
I don't-
you're here. With
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
if you just want to
exactly.
stay and do like the Monday fucking podcast or whatever, like, that's
I
more than
was
enough,
never
you know?
planning on asking you to like start doing editing or anything like that because I know you have your development career to pursue. So honestly, I'm just happy whenever you're here, and that's the
Oh, I
extent of the
appreciate that.
commitment I'm expecting.
Dude, at some
And when
point
you're
we should
gone,
let you
I'll
work
be
on a level.
happy.
At some point we should make you work on a level or let you work on a level and then just showcase. Like, talk about it, go through it, like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
why
have
not?
fun playing it.
Yeah, like
could have a
I
level
remember
design
when
discussion.
when you like walked me through one of your early levels of
Dreamwatcher.
Dreamwatcher, yeah. You stream, yeah. It was pretty much exactly that. You streamed it to me like one of your before you released it. You showed it off to me, and yeah, we can do things like that, like that other one you were
Well,
working
even
on,
just your FPS
the
stream.
Half-Life
that you put up
vibing one.
recently.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Cadaver Slammer. Yeah,
That's the one. Cadaver Oh, wow.
Cadaver
That's a good title.
Slammer.
That's
Uh,
a good title.
That's a title.
Thanks. I'm actually working on something a lot more interesting to you guys now. So we'll see when that's done. But I'm making. I think I mentioned it before, but I'm making an RPG, and I just finished the dialogue system. So you could talk to
Oh.
NPCs. You do have a choice, like you could choose what you ask them, and then they'll have a different response. So there is like a text box and like choices.
Okay.
And I have the combat is pretty not great, but it's there. It's like you have classes, so you could shoot fireballs as a mage, or you could be like a sword fighter and you have a sword. And I have one enemy, which is like a troll, like swipes at you. But like I'm gonna put in a few more enemies, and then I'm gonna build like a forest with a castle, and that's gonna be my
What-
level. So
What engine are you using?
Unreal Engine.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that is what they're looking for.
Everything happens in Unreal now.
Basically, Ryan.
Well, it's I'm doing what they want to see. So the shooter I made
Yeah.
is a shooter, right? Like that'll appeal to companies that make shooters, and I want to since most games these days are shooters and RPGs. I'm like, well, I'll make one really big shooter, which is my zombie thing, and then I'll make one. The RPG is going to be a lot more intense,
Linear.
but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
no, it's going to be more open actually.
Oh, just flat out. Huh?
That's why I'm gonna make like because I want it to be appealing because this one's gonna be outside, so I'm gonna be doing that landscape work and like like secrets and like there's gonna be certain areas only accessible by the mage who like you have to burn stuff with her fireball to get into secret areas, and then for the guy, the sword fighter, I don't know yet, but right now his abilities are more limited because right now they each have 2 powers, so mage can shoot fireballs and heal, and the sword fighter has like regular swinging, and then he has like one big like backflip sword strike, but it doesn't do more damage. It just looks really cool right now. So that's all. But yeah, it's good. The thing that's nice is that there's a lot of like free assets, free animations, models that I'm using that make it look a little more professional, even though I'm dicking around a little. But I could show you guys whenever. Like it's definitely gonna like before like right now I'm just working on the base game, but the level itself is gonna take me probably like probably at least a month to finish because it's gonna be a shit ton of planning. But yeah, I could always show you guys, and even if whether it's on stream or not or anything, it's great to have opinions, especially from people who play a lot of games.
Yeah, a lot of RPGs in particular.
Exactly. It's going to be more akin to like something like Dragon Age, like in terms of it's like a little, it's not so strategic. It's like Dragon Age 2, I guess.
Oh,
Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, well,
okay.
I'll
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Disgusting.
It's just a bad comparison. Bad comparison.
Well, to be fair, like it's gonna be like you can't like tactically pause. You're not gonna have a party. It's gonna be more like you press a button, it does the move, and then there's a cooldown. But you get it. Like it's not gonna be. I can't like. There's only so much I could do by
I know.
myself. And
I'm just playing.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah, I know. Like, I know what's good and what's not. Like, if I'm like, but if I look at a game like Dragon Age Origins and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it myself. But that's a bit too much. But they do. I think they even have map editors in Dragon Age and stuff. But and Divinity as well. But
yeah, definitely Divinity. I know that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but I think that if I'm looking to knock the socks off of a developer, it's like, oh, I did everything myself. Sounds like really cool, but
Yeah.
yeah, but also there's right now I'm fighting for like there's a few places I'm fighting with, like I'm trying to like get in. One of them is Beamdog, who makes like Neverwinter Nights Remastered, Planescape Torment. They're looking for a level designer, and I'm like trying, but
That would be awesome.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's it's not going so smoothly this one as opposed to some other places, but it's. Like, I got a connection there. Like, someone who went to my school was like, if you're trying to get a job, speak to this person. So, sent in my application, sent in, like, a follow-up, and I added the person on LinkedIn, and I'm going to message her. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Awesome.
All right.
I'm just going to go take a quick piss, and then we can start. I'm also streaming some Minecraft if anyone wants to come and join.
Yeah, I know. I just noticed that.
Cool.
Interesting.
That's different. Oh, it makes sense because we're doing survival.
Yeah.
I'm going to run to the bathroom, too, just to make sure that I don't have to interrupt myself later.
Cool.
BRB.
Yeah, I think doing specific game reviews would be nice too. Kind of a la either Angry Video Game Nerd or Pro Jared, something like The Completionist, something like that. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I worry about the game review genre because reviewing old games is really tricky because you have to do it in a style that's kind of fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And reviewing new games is a big money commitment because you're always buying the latest games at the full price. Like, the thing that's like bumming me out
I get
is that a lot of these big reviewers, like, they get paid to review these games. Like, they get the game for free, and I'm just like, bitch, like, fuck. Like, they get they get early access to the game so that they can have the reviews like day of. Like, it's a dog eat dog kind of situation where it's like you really have to have a very clear plan of how what you're gonna do is gonna stand out, or how you're gonna try to make it stand out, and it's tough. That part is the tough part, because creating good content, like, anybody's capable of it if they try hard enough. But getting it to stand out, like, you gotta have like intricate knowledge of the YouTube algorithm kind of thing. You gotta post often, but not too often. Like, it's legwork. It's a lot of legwork. But yeah, I'm down. I'm down for anything really. If that means we try, like, give it a good old college try,
Yeah, exactly. Just get content out there, put something out, and then if someone, because I mean, there's an audience for basically everything,
Yeah, just go on any porn website. You'll know there's an.
I mean, basically, yeah. Didn't expect there to be so much step-sibling shenanigans, but I mean, hey, whatever. People fucking get their rocks off.
That's what happens when you live in a society where, like, 60% of the people live in these weird reconstituted families at a weird age where they get to meet their new sibling and it's that hot girl from school kind of thing.
Yeah. I guess divorce is kind of rampant this generation, so
It's terrible.
there are
It's
more
like-
step siblings in general.
Like, just me. Like, technically, I have two. Technically, all of my siblings are steps. Yeah, I don't want to know you, because you is like, the whole world is related to you, like 3 degrees of separation.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
But we love you for it.
Whatever. Yeah. What the fuck was I doing in Valheim?
Sucking ass.
No.
If I had to guess, you were building.
I think I was filling out my creature tower.
Yo, sorry about that.
No
It's all
worries.
good.
Oh, nice. Do you have like ray tracing
yeah.
on or something?
Shaders.
Yeah, he's
Shaders
playing
on
with
the texture
advanced
pack.
shaders.
And
Whoa.
I'm playing on an amplified map, so all the biomes are fucking ridiculous.
Hmm.
And there's things floating in the air.
I've only
Okay.
played Java, so this is a little extreme for me right now.
It's
Oh,
still
wow.
on Java.
This is still Java.
Oh shit.
It's just a
I'm not
shader.
lost.
He's just playing with a shader.
Yeah.
So, well, then, yeah. Well,
Also,
I
look
played
who I am.
vanilla. Are you? Wait. Are you? Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Big surprise. Somehow it's gonna show up in every episode.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
Has
And we're
to.
also we're also going to have a Q&A where we're asking questions about games, and so I'm going to bring up The Witcher 3.
Yeah. There has to be
I
a
wouldn't
sound
expect
effect
more.
every time or something. Like,
Come on, you piece of filth.
Yeah, I was just thinking exactly that would be perfect.
oh god.
That's amazing. Okay. Oh, there we go. Now I'm flying. All right, so everybody's here. Everybody exists.
I believe so.
All right.
I hope.
I
Well,
believe I'm corporeal.
welcome back, Internet, to another episode of Just Your Average Gaming Podcast. Today is going to be a bit different because we are going to talk about things, obviously, but we're going to have a shorter than usual discussion about survival games, like the one I'm playing now, although I'm not playing in survival mode because... and then we're also going to have a bit of a Q&A type scenario afterwards where I will ask a bunch of gaming related questions and everyone else and myself will answer them. So with that, let's talk about survival games. Julian, how do you feel about survival games?
They're not my go-to in terms of game genre because much like multiplayer games, I am not attracted to games that have no hard end state. Like, I know you could beat the Ender Dragon, for example, in Minecraft and call it a day, like say that you're done. But I know that that's not the purpose of Minecraft. That's not what has helped its longevity. I think that when I have played them, like I think the most recent one that I spent a lot of time in was Forager. It's like they're pretty addicting, and they play into a fundamental part of our psyche, a part that like is naturally satisfied by finding ways to survive. So I get the appeal, and I get why there's so many now. After like the boom of Minecraft, there's been a crazy number of survival games in the market. Some with original concepts that make them a little more entertaining. But overall, I have a hard time with them for the reason I stated earlier. Just there being there's no reason for me to stop, and I feel like it's a big commitment since there's so many games I want to play. I'm like, I don't know if I could bring myself to just stick to one and play it repeatedly. So that's my stance on them.
Okay. Dan, how do you feel about survival games?
I think that they certainly serve a purpose. I mean, there's something to be said about a game that doesn't really have a goal. One could argue if it's even a game at that point and not just like an experience, but then you're getting into semantics. I like them. I like them a lot. I feel like it's a nice escape from like the urgency of a lot of these grand adventures, a lot of these grand fantasy adventures. And like, while they do have some interesting combat, I mean, like, Minecraft has some combat, Valheim's got some combat, etc., etc. Ultimately, like, the experience is really what you make it as a player, and I think that that's an interesting concept that I kind of wish that some more games visited. I will submit, however, that it can also feel like, not having a direction kind of sucks. I don't know. It's easy to fall into these traps, but we'll get on that later.
Okay. And Louis, how do you feel about survival games?
I have a hard time with survival games, I'll be honest. I want to like them more than I actually like them. I don't consider myself to be a terribly creative person. Like, and I know that that's something that can be worked on, but I often find myself playing these games and thinking, okay, I'm gonna build a house or build whatever, and then I start building and it's just this square bread box, and I'm like, there has to be a way I can make this more interesting, but I don't know that I can be bothered to go knock down an tree just to get more wood just to build another piece to my house or whatever. So mechanically speaking, they tend to get frustrating very quickly for me. So I tend to stop playing before I reach my end goal. Even if it's a self-determined end goal, I tend to stop playing before I get there. But there's definitely been some nice stuff that's noteworthy and worth talking about today. So I'm kind of on the fence about them. Long story short.
And as for me, I actually agree with a bit of what you said, Louis, and a bit of what Julian said, and a bit of what all of you said. But I do agree that I have trouble with the lack of ending and a feeling of there not being a purpose to what I'm doing. But unlike you, Louis, I'd say I'm much more of a creative person, and I love the creative aspect of it, which is why, as you can see, I'm playing Minecraft right now in creative mode, and it is my preferred way to play. So it should tell you a bit about how I feel about survival mechanics compared to just being able to build and create. There is definitely like an allure about, surviving and, making sure you have a place to live and food and water and all those hallmarks of survival. But when that's like all the game is, I lose interest pretty quick as well. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts. So Dan, do you want to go dive in a bit deeper into since you certainly had the most
Positive
outlook on survival games? You want to go into a more detailed discussion of why you think they're as good as you think they are, why you think you enjoy them so much?
No, that's okay. Yeah, no.
Okay. I guess we'll move on to the Q&A then.
Yeah, right. I feel like there's something to be said about game developers just trusting players with this tool set, especially a creative one like something like Minecraft, and just kind of trusting that they'll find a way to have fun. I feel like it harkens back a lot to the innocence of childhood, where you're just given this toy, or it could just be like a block of wood, but then in your mind you turn it into an airplane, and you turn it into this and this and this and that. And like creative games, especially some survival games, I would say, once again, Minecraft, Valheim, I wouldn't quite go as far as Daisy. They kind of just give you this tool set, and it allows you to kind of go back to a simpler time, where basically there are no wrong answers. There is no wrong way to play Minecraft, for example. You can kind of set out to do whatever you want, and then there's discoveries to be had in those game mechanics. Think about the first person who found redstone and was like, well, what the fuck is this shit? And then he just somehow, here we are years later, and there's a working computer in this game. I feel like the possibilities it opens up are very rewarding.
Give me enough time and enough redstone, and I can build a state machine that does basically whatever you want.
That's it.
I really like the way you worded that, Dan, about how it harkens back to your childhood, because I think that when I think about it, what I enjoy in games in general, it's like there are fundamental pieces of how I was a player as a kid, how I used to play. And I think a big part of it for me has always been exploration. I know I love exploration in games, and there is that nugget of that, and you even brought it up, in the discovery of mechanics. But I also find that when I'm thinking of a game let's say The Long Dark, it's much less creative. There's almost no creativity compared to, say, Minecraft. But the one thing I do love is the exploration and discovery of things on the map. So when you're desperate, you're trying to survive, you're close to death, and there's you stumble upon a house, and there's this excitement of seeing a house, what could possibly be in there, and there's those possibilities and exploration. When you're a kid, your parents don't want you to run around exploring in abandoned houses because it's dangerous. But in a game, you get the freedom and the excitement to just sort of explore, and who knows what kind of hidden treasures will be there. And because it's a game, likelihood is there probably will be something exciting in there, and it's for you to discover and learn how to use it for your own benefit. I personally, if there's anything I love about survival games, it's that.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that you brought it to how we used to play as kids, because I think that's where my experience as a kid kind of defines how I approach these survival games, because a lot of these survival games can be really much compared to basically a Lego set, where it's just like I'm giving you blocks of different shapes and sizes and you can make of them basically what you want. But my experience of playing with Lego was always looking at the instructions manual, attempting to build what was in there and usually succeeding, and then calling it a day and moving on to something else. So when I get to these survival games where it's just like, do whatever you want, I'll fuck around for a little bit, but that lack of direction is really like, it's scratching at me like at a visceral point where it's like, I didn't like it as I was when I was a kid, and I still don't enjoy it now.
Yeah,
I get that.
yeah, and I think part of it, I agree too with that sense of wonder that it starts, and that's why I think I get drawn in a lot of time to playing them initially. But I think at least for me, eventually that wears off, and there isn't enough beyond that in a lot of these games. Especially since so many of them exist perpetually in early access,
Yeah.
there isn't enough to keep me going. Like for example, like Minecraft is an exception because, especially with the Lego analogy, it literally is just virtual Legos. That's why I love playing in creative, because I'm literally just playing virtual Legos right now. But I have no interest on my own, certainly, to play like a full survival game, because once that wonder wears off, then I'm just frustrated that I can't build what I want to build yet, because I don't have the resources, and I have to go to the Nether, and I have to do all this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know what the hell per block is, but I love it, and I love that I have it already.
I was wondering that too. I was like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's like a cool looking obsidian colored thing, and I'm like, this is awesome. I didn't need to do whatever amount of work is required to find this resource to enjoy it. And,
Yeah.
Especially for those higher like level things to find. Like, also, like, what the hell is crimson stem? It's just like burnt wood. Like, I don't want to go burning trees for it. I just want to build with it because it looks cool.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised when I first found out about Minecraft and I saw people building those things. I was like, holy shit, these people are... I didn't know there was creative mode, so I was like, people are just like, oh my god, the amount of
Mining. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just do this for hours.
And even if you want to have like a goal, or say there's like a sense purpose, I feel like I get more reward out of finishing a big building project in creative than just being able to build a half decent house in survival, At least for me, because I just love like the building aspect.
I have a question for you then, Jacob. How do you feel, like, this is a truly honest question. How do you know what you're building? Like, I don't know what I'm doing half the time I try to build in Minecraft. I'm just, like Louis said, I just build like box houses.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of just go with it. Like, I just came into this world, I found this little peak, and I'm like, I'm going to build something here. And I was like, oh, there's a bunch of blown out walls, so like, let's cover that up with this cool looking block, and then we're going to see from there. Like, it's going to be some sort of building, but I have no like blueprint in my head. I'm just letting my creative juices guide me as I just build whatever the hell this is going to be. Hopefully something by the end of the stream.
I get that feeling. My base in Valheim, I just started streaming. It started off as just this little hut that I wanted to build, and then
This is Valheim.
yeah.
Okay,
So
I've never seen it before.
oh, you've okay. All right. Well, I mean, what's up? Welcome to Valheim. So yeah, initially my base was just this little this little shack. Basically, I had a hearth and whatnot, and then it just what I love about creative games and such is that you don't really set out thinking you're going to build all this shit. It just kind of happens organically. But anyways, long story short, it was just that little hut, and now it's basically evolved into like a whole town.
Nice. All right. That's pretty cool.
I got my fucking standing tower of trophies up there, farm life, smelter, workshop. Like, it just... I love games like this because they just give you some tools, and they set restrictions too. For example, this one, gravity is a thing. Structures have to have like actual structure to it.
Keep them up. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like this thing was a bitch to build because, like, here, if I take my hammer out, so blue things are like nice and rooted, green means they're supported, et cetera. The higher up you get, the fucking more you gotta support shit, because it starts to get more and more unstable. And like, it's a fun way to challenge yourself to think creatively while at the same time thinking realistically about how
thinking like an engineer, basically.
Yeah,
You got to think of both the form and the structure.
What happens if it's not? Will the building collapse if you?
Whatever
The
additional
parts you
pieces
build
and,
just
like,
destroy themselves.
Yeah. But what's really scary is that you can get raided, and like sometimes you get raided by these great fucking things, these trolls, and they'll just like fuck up your foundation, and then if they fuck up too much of it, your whole building collapses. You gotta build smart.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I actually enjoy about survival games that I feel like Jacob won't agree with me on, because he I mean, like, I understand his strife when not having enough building material and like having to do more of the game, but I feel like strife and like having to fight and earn these resources is kind of what makes the things feel so much more rewarding, you know?
I just don't feel like a lot of those resources, like the fight to get some of the basic resources, it gets really trivial really quickly.
Yeah, like I agree, especially at first, like when you first find like redstone or diamond or whatever. But yeah, it's like, and I completely agree. Like it's just, I think the main difference between you and the rest of us is you're able to latch on to that feeling longer than we are, for whatever reason. But I love strife and game, like, just all the Pathfinder we're playing, all the work I have to do just to keep my barony afloat. Like, I can totally understand why, for the same reasons I dislike survival games sometimes, I can totally understand why someone would dislike that aspect of Pathfinder. But for me, it gels more because there's at least from my perspective, a more tangible goal of establishing this barony how I see fit, and all the other role playing factors.
There's still an end game to it all, ultimately.
Exactly, and there's still more structure to it. Like survival games, for the most part, don't have like built-in like role play mechanics. Sure, we can role play amongst ourselves, and you get on certain servers, you can do really awesome stuff. But the game in and of itself doesn't come with that. And so if you're not in like a perfect scenario to create that yourself with like a committed group, at least for me, like it's hard to still get that sense of accomplishment out of it without feeling tedious.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, and that's a nice idea that you touched on, Jacob. The idea of like being rewarded, even if it's just like, congratulations, you've completed the build of the basic house. Like there's that sense of like self-rewarding. It fades really quickly for me. Like the idea that I'm satisfied of the work I've done building a house or building a cave or building whatever it is I'm setting out to do, like it washes off very quickly in comparison of like looking at everything else that I have to do to reach those higher tier resources. That's just like, I just spent 50 hours building a better house so that I can store all the shit, but I don't have the shit yet, and it's still just...
Or I used all the shit to build the house.
more.
Let's build a house full of shit. Like, yeah, I get it. It can feel rather repetitive at times.
Yeah.
You know what I think helps? Sorry, go ahead, Louis.
The bulk of my experience of playing Minecraft and enjoying it, basically like Jacob in creative mode, it was playing with mod packs that basically took away a lot of the mundane elements of what Minecraft is and replaced them with something completely other. Like my love for Sky Factory is still something that to this day I try to tell everybody about, because Sky Factory was genius. But the puzzle of Sky Factory isn't how much wood am I going to need for that build. It's more of a, how can I make this build fit in a nice compact space and eventually make it be entirely automatic and have it be something I don't have to worry about for the remainder of my playthrough, so that every resource in itself becomes a milestone rather than just something that needs to be collected.
I keep telling you,
I agree with that.
Love Kenshi. You would absolutely...
I know, which is why I'm not playing it.
Sounds like you're just hurting yourself.
No, it's because I don't want to shovel 500
No.
hours into another game.
He's right. It's.
I know myself
you are
well
hurting
enough to know I'm gonna just waste my life playing Kenshi if I get too deep into it.
Because that's the thing with it is a an RTS
Crime Sim?
RPG survival game.
Everything I've seen of you playing it, I was like, I know I could like this. I'm worried that I'm gonna get to a point where it's like some of the things that I dislike about it are gonna bug me to the point where it's just like, if there isn't a mod that I can find that's gonna fix it, then it's just gonna sour my whole experience of the game. So I'm kind of like, I can see the jank of it a little bit, but I can also see like the qualities it has. So it's kind of like, maybe someday, if I'm not so crunched for time, or if I'm streaming and my stream's like, yeah, play Kenshi, whatever. So,
The dream.
yeah,
You heard
I
it,
mean,
folks. Fucking spam the comments. Get Louis to play Kenshi.
Get me to play Kenshi. I'm fine with that, honestly. I watch so many streamers that just like, yeah, chat decides what I play next. I don't care. I just play the game. I'm there
So
for
Resident
chat
play Grand
viewing
Theft Auto.
pleasure.
Oh god.
I mean, if
I'll play an
I can
RP
dig-
server.
I can dig the idea of going on a roleplay server to play Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I would love to engage in actual like RP.
Yeah, well, that's what kind of what I was saying. Like with like survival games is like you have to make that yourself, and when you do, like find it. Like I've been on some Gmod servers of like RP servers or
Gmod's awesome.
or I've played back in the day Counter-Strike Prison Break stuff where you have like,
Oh,
half the team's
yeah.
guards, half the team's prisoners. Like, you know, finding that kind of stuff is what makes these kinds of games like Garry's Mod and Minecraft really shine. But it's about finding it, you know, and putting the commitment to it as well. Certainly for the RP servers, because it's not like a one done deal. Like,
Oh yeah, you gotta be dedicated. Like you
Yeah.
gotta have like your character's got a life, and you gotta be the one to see it through.
yeah,
But when we were in Dan's playthrough he's doing right now, I could see that Valheim has like these trophies, these things that you get for killing enemies.
Yeah.
I think that's an appeal to me as someone who's like it would make me want to keep playing because it's like, yeah, you keep having to build. If there's no goal, I feel like I could create a goal
Oh well,
in
here.
combat and
Well, fucking-
finding enemies or rare enemies
Yeah.
to kill.
I
You are
think the
gonna
one
love
mistake
it.
Valheim did about trophies is that they drop too easy. Like by the
well,
end,
it
you'll have
depends.
chests.
It depends.
For some
'cause-
monsters, you'll have like chests full of them
but others it's
before
broken.
the end of your playthrough.
Like the dragon heads were broken at first. Like how many times did Luke complain about?
Yeah, but that was a
killing
glitch.
100?
That wasn't intended.
It was fixed. Yeah, it was patched. I don't know if I could call it a glitch or just they were really dropping.
If the math is wrong,
So here,
then
Julian. So this tower itself is actually exactly that, dedicated to trophies. So like
That's what I
said-
figured.
You know what I mean? I've set a
I was
bunch of shit
looking at
up.
it.
Yeah, it's nice. And this is just a quick like I beat the game essentially, at least what's out already. Currently there are 5 bosses and 5 biomes, one for each biome or boss. Anyways, but they're like halfway through development. I think they said there's going to be 10 biomes, 10 bosses, and like a bunch of mini bosses. So like that's what's great about this, and this is why like you know I got to thank Louis for kind of pushing me in the right direction with this. It's a great game. It takes the Minecraft formula, it throws a little bit of Dark Souls in there because it's got like legitimate combat. And throws a bit of Farmville in too, and it's all kind of wrapped up perfectly in this Viking formula. I feel like it wouldn't have been as popular had it not been like maybe it wouldn't have gotten noticed if it wasn't for Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
I mean, there's a huge push for like Viking
yeah.
stuff.
In general, there's always a
Mhm.
push for it, but there's obviously definitely, you know, the appetite was warmed up with Valhalla.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Dan, did you have any other glowing things to say about survival games? Or-
No, I think that's about it. Kind of covers it. It's my rant for now.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to say about survival games?
Well, I can
'Cause I feel like I've said
think
mine
of a
most
few
important.
things. I can think of a few things that some games could do that might keep me playing a little more. And that's where
Yeah, sure,
things
that's-
like what Ark was doing. Ark was more engaging to me as a survival game than a lot of the other ones before. Because there was this notion of like your character leveled up, you got to pick like which stats you wanted to increase, which blueprints you wanted to get. There was like a whole dynamic of how your player grew as you played that I was extremely fond of. That Valheim basically like you have these little like minor skill upgrades that get as you use certain skills. Like oh you've been chopping down a lot of wood, so you're gonna do like a
It's
little
got
more
the,
damage. to
it's got the
trees now.
Oblivion thing.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it actually. but aside from that, like your character stays pretty much the same from the beginning to the end, other than the loot that you get, like the better gear that you
Yeah,
get.
it is very
And-
gear intensive. In that
And that to me was kind of like, I wish there was just a little more in ways of like defining my character. So that's already like that to me would have been a big start. Again, like having simple ways to maybe either make it more simple to harvest the basic resources more quickly or in larger quantities. Like at the point where you're moving away from some of the resources, finding yourself needing more of it quickly becomes time consuming, because it's like you're going to need to go spend another hour and a half mining at copper that you're bringing back by the handful to your base, just because you don't have ways to make it go faster other than like the one belt you can get that increases your carry strength a little bit. Like I wish there was more of that. Like Ark was fun in that way, in that like you had specific dinosaurs that were good for specific tasks, and often you could leave them roaming and they would just fulfill that task on their own, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think
Or-
we will see more stuff like that. Like,
I think so,
why,
too.
why wouldn't they add more items? You know,
I think so.
Like,
Yeah.
More items, but more ways to get them. Like the one thing that kept me playing Sky Factory that's different from playing Minecraft is, again, I can set up a system that just harvests wood automatically to no end, and I just have to go pick some up from the proper chest when I need it, and eventually just pick it up from the magical inventory in the sky, because it's just accessible from wherever. Oh wow, those shaders are actually beautiful though.
Yeah,
I gotta say,
it's pretty-
Jacob.
And yeah, the lighting is insane. Like, I don't have any other light sources to compare to, but there you can see the lava glowing in the distance,
Yeah.
even when it's dark and rainy. And like, if I fly away, you can see my outpost for a while. But yeah, I like the idea of talking. You know, if anyone else has anything else they think that would make survival games better long term, or things that they can add.
Like give me a proper survival RPG, you know? Give me Fallout 4, but that's actually good, you know?
Yeah.
NPCs and writing, like having like I know that
story
some
of
some
some
AAA
kind.
games, yeah, and I know that some AAA games have tried to implement survival mechanics, but I think that if there was like, it doesn't even necessarily need like a linear plot. Like, if you have like a very believable world, kind of like Skyrim or something like that, where you have just like towns with like preset, like it. I know that there's procedural generation a lot in these games, but if they just had a consistent establishment of locations like villages and towns, and the rest is sort of up to you, I think that it would be a little more engaging for me. With like maybe multiple branching storylines. It doesn't have to be one plot line, but like imagine just side quests basically, and then you just tackle them as you want, and fight different bosses, see different areas based off of what you choose to pursue. I think that fits the freedom of a survival game.
Like, if you like Minecraft, like in its actual base form, I can only highly recommend the mod pack RLCraft, which basically takes Minecraft and makes it insanely more difficult, but also insanely more rewarding in many ways. Because not only do they add a bunch of stuff, whether it's equipment, resources, enemies, bosses, not really quests, at least not as far as I know of. But there's a whole there's a level up mechanic. There's a bunch of really neat things that make the game a lot more engaging, at least for me. And I would love to see an actual big game that does something similar. Just something of a not a challenge per se, but just like something to keep you going, whether it be because your character levels up, because you do quests, because you find new biomes. Like variety. Give me something more than just a Lego set to play with.
Yeah, well, I kind of say what both you said there. It's like survival as a game in of itself, at least as it is in the most part now, always kind of feels like a part of what could be more a more full game. You know, like you're saying, like having a story with it and side quests or deeper, more rewarding mechanics, because survival, as a genre, pretty much, at least for the last while, since with Minecraft and everything, it's a very mainstream, despite the potential for extremely hardcore mechanics. For the most part, it's very mainstream, and so unless it gets paired with another key game mechanic that helps it grow into something more, then I think as is, it can only be so much. And I think a game like Minecraft gets the longevity just because Minecraft was so novel, and also it's literally just more so than any others. Even though there's a plenty of others that try to emulate it, more so than any others, it's just a Lego set, a virtual.
Yeah,
Lego set.
Minecraft is
Yeah,
so
exactly.
ridiculously accessible. Like my 5-year-old niece loves playing
Yeah.
Minecraft. Like
And Minecraft, just does it so well. But other games trying to capture that same audience, but also trying to put more layers to the game. It's a delicate balance because that same audience is going to look at something like Valheim or 7 Days to Die and just be like, no, thank you, because it's just not. It's not Minecraft. It doesn't. It's not as simple as Minecraft. So yeah, I think really the thing that survival needs is it needs a hyphen and another genre next to it, and games need to pursue. There needs to be more games that take survival as like the core mechanic, but still drape it with other things that make it more engaging, more rewarding, more.
yeah, because realistically, we
Fleshed out.
started speaking of survival as a genre of gaming usually when it was paired with horror. Like the idea of a survival horror is like it's a horror game, but in which your resources are going to be limited and things are going to be done to say that like you have to ponder your use of your resource. But now it's become this like basically this hunter-gatherer kind of setting
Yeah.
where it's like you're looking for resource hunting for food, but ultimately what you do with that resource is extremely trivial.
Yeah, I think the best way I could describe how I feel about it is survival is a secondary genre that
Kind of like RPG.
really needs a partner to flourish.
Almost like RPG. Like in the modern era, RPG is more of a like it's a tag you add to a genre more than a genre in and of itself.
Yeah, in some cases.
To an
For
extent.
for
Like,
some games, yes, there are
I'm
still plenty
stretching
of,
it a little bit,
Yeah.
but kind of. Like there's so many games now that are just shooter RPG or fantasy RPG.
No,
or,
I completely agree. There's a lot of games that say they have RPG elements that are a bit of a
like,
stretch.
it's a stretch.
But there's still plenty of actual RPG games as
Oh
well.
yeah, for sure. As a big fan of them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think crafting is pretty fundamental as part of it, and that's why you also you see like Louis was saying, like horror games tend to have crafting mechanics, and like Resident Evil's been playing on that since Resident Evil 7 to have like combine the gunpowder with the. I mean, they always had like combining things like in Resident Evil 4, like combining herbs, but now that they've expanded that a bit further, and it adds to the sense of conserving, like survival. Like you need to make smart decisions to keep yourself going. And I think that like you've been saying, like that pairs well with certain genres like horror, because horror is about being stressed and frantic and like trying to make it through the next level. And anything that's intimidating and hard benefits from having the survival mechanics and crafting mechanics, because it's like a mini strategy game within another game, basically.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I think that was a productive talk on survival games.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Stan, did you have any
There isn't much to
closing
say
remarks?
about them because there isn't much to them.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But
Right.
Dan, was there? Was there anything
There's
else you wanted
closing
to add?
remarks. There's something to be said about simplicity.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm
100%.
not saying that it's not a downside of their games being kind of. I don't want to use the word
No, of
simple,
course not.
basic
Yeah,
yeah.
or
like to be
Light.
to be
I don't know.
It's just like I
be
feel like some.
concise and
Yeah.
to the point of what they're trying to be.
Exactly.
There's definitely a point to that because I've seen a lot of games try the exact opposite, and it becomes a real mess of trying to make sense of what's happening and what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there are no more remarks, we can move on to the next part of our presentation. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
No one says anything. I don't know if maybe something's wrong or if I can't hear you guys.
I've died.
Okay. So now we'll move on to our Q&A segment. Also,
Wait 2 seconds. Getting an important phone call.
okay. Julian
So,
If you had any questions that you wanted to have asked, you can just send me like a DM on Discord or Facebook, and I'll ask them. So like if you think of something while we're going, so we can have a more consistent host mechanic instead of jumping in and saying, "Oh, how about this?" Just send it to me, and I'll make sure it's said.
is it revolving around any particular subject matter or
video games?
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
anything you can think of. A lot of it, I have a good amount here. So if you don't want to like bombard me with a bunch, just wait. And then if we get through some and you're like thinking maybe you want to make sure this one's asked, just send it to me and I'll make sure it's asked. And worst
sounds
case,
good.
if we get to the end and we can do a little round robin of questions if anyone has anything they were holding on to. The only exception is if we're talking about a specific subject and you have like a sub question that goes really well with that subject, then you can kind of chime in and be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, what about this?" You know. But if it's like way different topic, just send it to me and I'll work it in at the right time.
Yep, sounds good, man.
Yeah. But like I said, I think a lot's going to be covered by what I do have. Just get ready. Ask
I'm
all the
sure.
big questions.
Is it like rapid fire, or is it going to be like?
It's like it's not like you don't have to conduct an essay for each answer, but it's also not like one word. It's not like what's your favorite game, Half-Life. It's like what's your favorite game and why in like a paragraph, you know. And obviously, if what topic gets super interesting, we talk about it a bit more. That's fine, but you don't have to give us like every reason for your answer. Just like a quick summary of why this is your answer to this question.
Okay,
And
that
everyone will
sounds
kind
fair.
of go, and then we can have a little discussion about it, and then move on to the next question. But yeah, we don't want to get too bogged down, because then it'll turn into what our other casts where it just becomes that's the topic, and we talk about it for an hour. So I will
Exactly.
I will reel you in if I feel like it's going too far, and we have to move on to the next question.
That
All
sounds
right.
good.
Cool. Is everybody back and ready?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So, we'll start with a classic bigger one. All right. What and also before I start, I was thinking because obviously I wrote these questions. I've had their existence known to me, so for most of them I do have an answer ready. So I was thinking I'll ask the question. I'll give my answer, so you guys have a second to think on it, and then we'll go through the three of you.
Sounds
All
fair.
right. I
All
like
right.
All right. So the first big question is, what is your favorite game? And it's a two-parter because I don't want any like, oh, I love all the Zelda games or all the Half-Life games. You can tell me your favorite game series, but you need to pick a single game. And if you don't actually have like a favorite, because I know like some people like that, just pick one, but like one of your favorites. But so yeah, favorite series and favorite singular game. Well, favorite series is Half-Life, and I've honestly like gone back and forth on this for a while, but I think I have to go with Half-Life 2 as my favorite over Half-Life 1.
Shocked gasps in the crowd.
What about The Witcher 3?
Yeah, the Witcher fanboys are like, what the fuck, Jacob?
Hey, Witcher just has some catching up to do with the nostalgia factor, and it'll get there.
Oh yeah, good luck
but
with
how
that.
about- It's a
But
good
even
choice.
so, like Half-Life, no matter what, even if it's completely irrational to keep saying it, it will always be my answer. But I don't see why it would
Half-Life
ever
2 is
be
a great
irrational.
game. I've never
Yeah.
played, and I can tell you Half-Life 2 is a great game.
Yeah. Like just playing it last week when we were talking about when we were doing our last podcast, like even though I was like half distracted obviously by what we were doing, I was just like having so much fun, and like I've played this through like 1,000 times, and it's just still as good as it was. And even for a game that's fucking 17 years old this year to look like it does, like it blows my mind. I still say it holds up. Like obviously it doesn't have as many pixels and stuff, but and some other stuff, but it really holds up. And just the gameplay, the level design, the story, the atmosphere, Half-Life 2, to me to this day is pretty much unmatched. So there's your idea of how long to make your answer, so we don't
Sounds
go
good.
too far. If anyone has theirs ready and wants to jump in, if not, I'm going to pick on someone. No, I'm kidding. Or where am I?
Serious.
But yeah, does anyone have their answer ready?
I can go. I mean, I always have my safe answer, and I think it's not that surprising, so I could always do it. I don't even know. Okay, so I feel like I'm forced to by my own who I've built myself to be. I have to pick BioShock the series and BioShock 1 the game.
Not BioShock
I'm
2?
not even. Come on. I do.
Why you
I
gotta
do
do
like-
me like that, Jake?
Honestly, I've grown to be a little more accepting of BioShock 2, but it's certainly it's kind of like Dark Souls 2 in the sense that it's still a good game. It's just not it's not my favorite. It's between 1 and 3, and through time, as much as I love Infinite, I still have to go back to 1 just because of the much of like what I said before during the discussion of Minecraft. There's like a sense of wonder of exploring such a well realized world where every corner is so rich with lore and atmosphere that I don't know, again, if it's maybe nostalgia a little bit, but when I go back and just go through the medical pavilion, which is one of my favorite levels in all of video games, I just, you feel so overwhelmed with interesting information surrounding you. You just get into this world that you have no idea how Rapture works, and you get into this area and you're just starting to get so much lore. Just it's telling you lore without explicitly saying too much. You just see how their society worked before things fell apart. You see how their medical system was. You see that things were a little more advanced, but still aesthetically held back in the 50s aesthetic. It's just such a beautiful game. And then you have the narrative as well, which I mean, everything except for the boss fight, the final boss, I say is like nearing perfection in my eyes. Like there's a few things that like I obviously find could have been better, like whatever the death system, the morality system were maybe a little basic, but that aside from that, just as a world and as the wonder of discovering new powers and abilities and guns and upgrades and lore, it hits every right note I would want in a video game just perfectly. That's me.
Good. Nice advertisement for BioShock.
I love you, Ken Levine.
Have my babies. We'll go on a double date. You and Ken Levine, me and Gabe Newell.
Gabe Newell?
Yeah.
Oh man, I would love to
boy.
attend that.
But in all seriousness, to have dinner with those two, wow, that would be fun. Just to
So many
talk games
questions.
with those two. All right. Dan.
Dan, do you want to go or shall I?
You can go. I'm still like battling my inner demons right now.
Good.
It's
good.
tough for me too, but I'm gonna give the answer that I think everybody here is expecting. Where if you throw me on an island with one console and one game, it's gonna be a PS4 and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Because everything about the game to me was just so perfect, from the aesthetic to the lore to the characters to the weapons, the boss fights, the DLC. Like I could go on forever. That game just hit all the right notes, all the right spots for me. It was just so perfect. So Miyazaki Sensei, please teach me your ways, please. But no, Bloodborne just hit so many right notes for me. It's just I can feel the nostalgia element of so many games pulling me back. Like a part of me wanted to say Final Fantasy IX because it's just so beautiful, but I can't not look at Bloodborne and go like, yeah, you're the one. Marry me.
Have my babies.
It does
And
make me
have
wanna
these
play it.
weird eldritch babies that just, yeah. Like when I started thinking about getting a tattoo that was basically going to be a mosaic of interesting game elements from games that forged my past, the first thing I had in mind was an idea for what Bloodborne was going to be, and it was just like the first thing I said in stone was going to be that.
A hunter's
So, yeah.
mark.
It's a specific mark from the game that's the mark of Formless Udin.
Okay, I don't
And
know.
the
what that
reason
is.
I picked this one very specifically is because of how involved in the lore Formless Udin actually is. Despite being a character that's never mentioned, never brought up, never.
It's a Dark Souls lore thing. I
Yeah,
get what
if
you
you
mean.
read into the subtext of many things, you'll get the reference of why Udin was so important.
Yeah. And is Soulsborne your favorite game series, or do you have a different answer?
No, not at all. My favorite game series was Mega Man X.
Nice.
Nice. The nostalgia crowd's gonna appeal to that.
Oh man, Mega Man X was just so good. The music, the gameplay, so dynamic. It was so. It was like blew my soul. I already loved Mega Man, and you just took everything I loved about Mega Man and made it better, harder, better, faster, stronger. Like,
Best feeling.
let's go.
I love games that are just better than the game that came before it. It's like, wow, you did it right.
I can
You learn from
honestly
your mistakes.
tell you.
Whoa.
I can honestly tell you that my taste for rock and roll and metal music was forged by Mega Man X.
You know what? I feel
I
like that's
believe that.
actually surprisingly common thing to hear people say. Is
Mhm.
like people who are really into metal, they're like, "Yeah, I used to play a lot of Mega Man X." I'm like,
I'm not
Good trend
surprised
here.
at all.
I believe you.
because, like Rockman, like was pretty rock and roll when it comes to its soundtrack, but Mega Man X took it a step further and like just listen to the intro page of like the game start page of Mega Man X, and you'll know
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what I mean because it's so metal, it's so good.
Mega Man X's soundtrack. I can rock to that.
I have it
listen
on
to
my
recently.
phone, and anytime one of the songs is playing, I don't skip. I just listen to it for a minute or two, and so good,
Yeah.
so good.
Well, I mean, I think your answer kind of helped me figure mine out. You brought
Cool.
up if
Glad
you
I
were
could
stuck on a
help.
desert island with only one game,
Yeah.
what would it be? I mean, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, 110%.
That's one of the good ones. That's one of the ones I
That's-
struggled with.
Like I want to die playing that game. That's a true fact. And if anyone's hearing
Through
this,
dying having an orgasm, I want to be playing Majora's Mask.
bro, for sure. I want to save the world of Termina and then die right after. It'll be
You
perfect
can never
poetic
save
justice.
Termina.
I know. But I don't know. I mean, I guess on that note, you know, the Zelda series would be my favorite, but otherwise the Dark Souls series, because that's another game series in general that kind of changed me as a person. You know, some would
that
say
thought.
for the better.
It's a question later.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I thought your webcam
Okay,
had frozen there for a second, Jacob.
No, I'm still moving. Hello.
But,
There's just a huge
yeah.
delay because of the stream.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I'll give it to the Soul series because they made me a man, and
Same.
That's my bit.
Same. But if Jacob says we're gonna get back on that, then I'll hold
Yeah,
that thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good to say and good reasoning. But yeah, save the details for that because the question is coming. All right. So I think that was everybody, right?
Think
Yeah,
so.
that was
All right. You ready for the next question?
always hit me.
All right. This one's a three-parter.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, three-parter. Okay. Actually, I may still need a minute to think on this one too, so we may just take a quiet minute. But this is the general question: is your favorite characters in games? And the three parts is your favorite villain, your favorite protagonist, and your favorite side or companion character, depending on the game.
I can almost
Good
answer
lord.
that entire question directly, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, if you
Okay.
have an answer, by
Okay.
all means, go for it.
Favorite villain was Final Fantasy VI Kefka. He was absolutely beautiful as a villain, like the typical madman, but like pushed to a level that's just like it's Joker-esque at this point. But it was so good. It was so interesting. Favorite side character that was one of my favorites would probably be Aileen the Crow from Bloodborne. I loved everything about her aesthetics, of the way she spoke, of what she was doing, of her, like, you know, a hunter must hunt beasts, leave the hunting of hunters to me, kind of thing. Kind of paints her as this kind of gray zone character where it's like, she's not really a good guy because she goes out of her way to kill hunters that are people, right? But she's not all bad because the hunters she hunts have gotten completely insane. Spoiler alert, I guess. But yeah, she was a really interesting side character to be around, especially since she was usually around some of the toughest fights in the game. So it was always a nice plus to have a good challenge right next to a nice character. But as the main protagonist, the interesting main protagonist is the tough one.
Because I mean, you could say, oh, there's so many protagonists where they're like silent and it's you. Like, if you love yourself that much, go for it. But it's kind of hard to pick because a lot of protagonists are you basically.
Yeah. I think for the main protagonist, let me just drop a quick look at my library because I think I have an answer, but I want to see if something else is going to jump at my face. But I think my favorite protagonist main character would be Vincent from Catherine.
Nice.
Because I could feel like he's such a relatable character. Like I could feel the conflict in his mind. Like everything about that game is extremely relatable all up until the end where it kind of like shit hits the fan sideways
Just a bit.
and backwards. But like for the rest of the game, like he's just some dude chilling in a bar, talking with his friends. He's got a girlfriend, he's got his side chick, and like shit happens in his life. But like it's just so down to earth and so like so enjoyable just to watch the character go through his anime life.
Yeah.
Like it was a satisfying experience of a main character. So I guess that'd be my take. That's my yep.
Yeah. Good answers. Good answers.
You're killing me, Jacob, with this
know.
question.
I know.
This because like I know I have an answer, and I have to like mentally dig through every game I've ever played. And like, there is a villain, there is a hero I love. Oh man, okay, I need some time for this one. I'm tapping out for a little bit.
You won, Jacob. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah. I want to break you all.
Defeated.
God damn it.
Oh wow, we have 2 chatbots already spamming to get followed.
Cool.
Oh, I do want to be famous.
Yes,
I will buy
please shower me with fame and fame.
How much money you want? I'll give you everything.
All the money.
All right. Well, I got one I can answer, so I'll just do that.
Okay, yeah, we could do it like that.
Yeah. If you have one, like, don't be. Yeah, we can go one a bit. So I'll answer the protagonist one. It was tight between 2 contenders, but the winner, to everyone's surprise, I'm sure, is Geralt of Rivia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But for those curious, the very, very close second is Arthur Morgan.
Oh, I think that might be mine. Yeah, Arthur Morgan. I feel like it feels like a cop out. That's why I don't want to pick him just yet, because I feel like I'm like, no, that's so recent. There must be.
Yeah, but it's like I can't lie and say I don't feel that way. You know?
No,
I
I
agree,
feel the
I
same way
agree.
as well. But
Yeah.
come on, like okay, what am I doing? I have my favorite games list. I could just look through my list and see if there's got to be something there.
As for villains, like I'm not like necessarily set in stone with this answer, but certainly the best villain that I've encountered in a game, just from like a pure like, writing and like super interesting. Like I can't even tell you why because it'd be such spoilers. But the main villain from Planescape Torment is probably the best villain in any video game I've played.
Damn.
Wow. Okay.
Just because of the I don't even know how to describe it. There's just things about him I can't tell you, and how he relates to your character and the world. It's perfect. But also honorable mention, Sovereign from Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
Yes.
That's fair.
But was Sovereign the villain?
Yeah. Saren was just the puppet.
Guess so.
He did everything because Sovereign told him to.
Fair enough.
Okay, I think I have one answer. One
Okay.
more character.
Yeah.
Do tell.
I think best side companion. That's really brutal. I wanted to pick Garrus, but I was like, am I that much? I am a basic bitch when it comes to Garrus. It's fine, but
It's okay.
I think
This
that
is your favorite stuff. It's okay to be basic bitch. It's basic bitch
Yeah,
for a reason.
fine.
there was one side character who I think deserves to be on the top, and I think it's Kim from Disco Elysium. It's like your only companion. You only get one. That's him. And I think like he is such a well-written character, and he's exactly the kind of like perfect sidekick to the Bananas character you play. Like no matter what you role play, your character is kind of insane. So just having like him be like this really grounded, really normal dude, like is just such a funny contrast. And he's just really witty and fun. I think he might be my favorite side character in a game. And I'm still leaning towards Arthur Morgan as my favorite hero, but I'm gonna aggressively try to find another one because I want to believe there's more than that for me.
It's fair. Dan, I don't think you've given an answer yet. You have anything?
No, favorite
Can I ask a
protag-
question real quick just to make sure I'm clear on something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Arthur Morgan is the guy from Half-Life 2, yeah?
No.
Oh my god.
I mean, fuck, we should have said yes. Damn it.
No, Arthur Morgan is from Red Dead Redemption 2.
You're
Gordon
thinking
Freeman.
Gordon.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I haven't played Red Dead, so
I mean, I can't say that Link is my favorite
Yeah,
protagonist.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
He's
if,
not a
if you say Link,
protagonist.
I'll say Gordon Freeman at that point. You know,
Right,
Like,
yeah, because he is very much a self-insert. There
Yeah.
are some games where like they certainly give him more personality, like Twilight
Yeah.
Princess, Wind Waker. You know, he's
But-
chock full of
Breath of the Wild.
personality.
Yeah, but
Breath
at
of
the
the
end of the
Wild,
day, it's-
even Majora's Mask, more so, definitely more so than Ocarina, because that was really just finding its feet as a 3D game. I'm almost gonna say, but once again, it's a bit of a cop out. I was gonna say Revan from Knights of the Old Republic. You know, like it is still
yeah.
very much a self-written kind of character because you know he is based off of the decisions that you as a player make. But I feel like the options that he has available and the way that he could express himself, that I could express myself through his words, I feel like are just there's something to be said about it. There is character there. It's
Yeah,
just
no, I-
morality is what's decided by player more than who that person is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and since he has like, you know, an established past and all that, and yeah, I would definitely say that qualifies in this
Yeah.
question. It's a good answer. It would definitely be in my tops as well.
And it's the kind of person that you wouldn't think about because it's like, well, no, that's
Yeah,
that's
because your
entirely
initial
based on
thought
the
is
person.
he's a blank slate character, but then you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, he's actually not. Which is actually, you know, you put it that way. Another one that I would put up there would be the protagonist from Planescape Torment as well.
Yeah. Eh?
For a lot of the same reasons as the villain, and for a lot of the same reasons I can't say anything more. but yeah, the protagonist and antagonist in Planescape Torment are just
Top
crazy.
tier.
But Planescape, it's similar to Revan in ways that's like there's stuff there, but there's also plenty of like self stuff you can do. Like it's very similar to Revan, so yeah, I got to mention him too.
Villain is bothering me a lot because I feel like I know villains that I loved, but for some reason, and nothing. All I'm getting are like the cheesy like.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've
best
stolen
villain.
the princess. Now you have to kill me. Like that's all that's coming into my head for some
I
reason.
mean, if we got to go for villains, this one I can actually put a Zelda character. Ganondorf from the Wind Waker specifically was
Oh, yeah,
amazing. He was barely a villain. He just wanted to like. The reason he was quote unquote evil in the first place was because he comes from the Gerudo tribe, and they live out in the desert where there are terrible, terrible things and not much else. So when everything was fucking flooded with water, he just wants to bring Hyrule back from the flooding. You know, kind of like resuscitate the old world. And in the end, the fucking King of Red Lion is just a dick. And that's all I can say about that.
yeah. Wind Waker's Ganondorf was a gem.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He doesn't even like want to fight you. Like he talks to you like as an equal for the most part.
He just wants you to understand that flooding Hyrule wasn't a solution. And you're there just like, no, I'm gonna kill you. And it's
Yeah.
just like, come on, Link, just open your fucking ears for a second.
Yeah.
no, you can't.
I mean, like they probably could have talked about it, but like you know, he did
Link doesn't talk.
capture. He captured his sister,
Yep.
His sister. Oh, yeah, he does. That's true.
right? That's
I thought
that's
he
who
ta-
you're
I-
saving in Wind
I
Waker.
thought he took Terra, but no, he doesn't.
Well, he does later, but like
Yeah.
initially,
By the time you figured that Terra is Zelda,
yeah.
I feel like I really want to instigate with Jacob and say my favorite villain is Abby, but I'm not going to do
Oh,
that.
Sorry, I'm gonna be sick.
Wait, who's that?
From Last of Us 2.
Oh,
I mean, I could almost see what you're getting
I mean,
at with
there
it.
definitely can be an argument that I would accept
There
in
is.
that regard, but yeah.
But I don't even think it's true. I mean, I do honestly find her a good villain because of like the way that the game is, but
Sorry.
it's complicated, and I don't think that's gonna be my choice, just because like I'm still torn between a few others. Oh man, fuck, this is brutal, Jacob. Like this is like the question I need like a week to think on.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was fun. I want your knee-jerk reactions.
I don't even know if I have one for villain. Like even for hero, I'm like struggling here.
Whoa.
I would say Gwyn too, but he's not really a villain. He's more of a victim than anything.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely true.
Right?
All right. Well, if you guys want, because I don't think we got all the answers, we can move on to another question. While if you need more time to think, Julian, it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think I don't know if I can do it. It's so.
Well,
Then give us
we'll-
some honorable mentions, rapid fire.
Or
I mean,
or
Bioshock's
if
your
you
favorite.
want-
Would you not say that villain? Well, would you say Andrew Ryan or the other guy?
See,
Right.
that's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think Andrew Ryan is really the villain of Bioshock. See, that's also another issue is that some of the games it's not really like so cut and dry as like, oh, that's the antagonist in a lot of them. So, or in Bioshock Infinite, I don't know. Like, I do think Comstock is a cool villain, but like again, it's just
It's
I don't
not
know.
overly memorable or anything.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like, oh, he's my favorite villain in all video games. Like, there's so many other choices. Like, I can even say oh, Jesus. I don't know. Okay, have you guys played Undertale, for example?
Yeah. Flowey's
Did
a
you?
pretty good villain. I gotta
Yeah, I
say.
was gonna say Flowey's
Yeah.
probably one of the ones I like a lot. Like as a villain, I thought it was a cool villain. But I don't know if I like. Oh my god, it's just like. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna stop here for now. Like,
We'll
I
circle
don't
back. I
think
put a little star next to the question, so we'll go back to it at the end.
Yeah.
Sure.
And yeah, if we have any other questions that are stumpers, we'll come back to. We'll circle back on them. All right. Speaking of stumpers, maybe I should save that one for later. Okay. Okay. Here's one that could probably be a quick answer. This, primarily relates to RPGs, but you can kind of adapt this to other things. What's your favorite class archetype? So like the rough and tumble warrior, the sneaky rogue, or the smart caster / whatever wizard equivalent is in the universe we're talking about. Mine's wizard, mage, whatever it is. If it's spells, or
Yeah.
if it's sci-fi magic, like the biotics in Mass Effect. I need, if not a full caster, I need something. I really don't like playing rogues in any game.
Yeah, same
Warriors
here.
can be fun though, because sometimes you just want to beat the shit out of everything. So yeah, if I had to rank it, I'd say mage, then warrior, then rogue.
In fantasy, I'll go for caster. In shooter, I'll go for sniper, even though I'm terrible at it. Otherwise,
Are we allowed to pick? Sorry, go ahead.
otherwise it's just anything kind of sneaky. If I can't be a caster or a sniper, anything sneaky-esque would be my jam.
But is there like do we have to pick? Let's say, for example, in fantasy, is it just warrior, mage, rogue, or are there like can you pick like?
Hey, if you can be super specific, be super
Well,
specific.
this, like I said, this is just the archetype. Like most classes especially in a fantasy game, you can like relate back to one of these. Like okay, you have warriors, but then you could also say paladins or anyone else that uses weapons and armor, and you could say wizard, or to like make a D&D reference, you could say wizard. I lump wizard, sorcerer, warlock all into that same category. So it doesn't like we're not. If you have a specific one, say it. But if you can like directly relate it to an archetype, it's more what the basic of the question is just the basic archetype you prefer.
It's just that I tend to prefer like a sweet spot between like caster and a warrior. Like I like using like some sort of melee weapon while using projectile like magic as well. Like it's always like because I used to always be the caster in every RPG I played, but I always like a glass cannon, and I got kind of sick of it, so I kind of like buffed up a little and used some melee. But yeah, I always feel like I need a bit of both. I can care less about being stealthy myself in a fantasy setting, but I want like magic because magic there's so many possibilities and it's so cool.
Yeah.
And melee just to brute force my way through certain fights. Just be like, I hate this guy. I'm gonna smack him with a mace.
That's fair.
I'm playing a D&D character right now that's pretty much that, and it's so fun.
Yeah, that's perfection.
I love that character. Rios is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I like to hear that from the DM.
Yeah, no, all the characters in this campaign, especially, are.
Mm-hmm.
been
Yeah, I
very
feel like
fun
they're all
so
unique
far.
enough in their own way.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta lean towards martial classes if the game supports a good martial system. If the game supports a good sneaky system, I'd prefer to do that. Unfortunately, I find myself tending to stray from magic. It just, I always feel like I gotta punch something at some point.
So much
And-
anger inside you, man.
Yeah, basically.
It's like, I think you need to see a therapist, man.
Oh, definitely,
That might be the
definitely.
takeaway.
I mean, fuck. After a year of COVID, I think we could all use a little talking to.
Yeah.
Probably.
But yeah, like I always feel like the martial classes are the ones that get in there, and then it's a test of their reactions. Like I've always played the Devil May Cry games, you know, which is very much not quite a button masher, but like it's a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
And I like to play games that give me that kind of accessibility if it's good. Which is why in games like Skyrim, as much as I'd love to try to go back to that sword and board or that two-hander, realistically, that I prefer to do a sneaky archer because the melee combat in Skyrim is kind of meh, you know, like it's very simplified.
To be fair, the casting isn't much better, so
No, exactly. Whereas the sneaky archer is just like I don't know. I don't feel like I have necessarily a default. And if I was given a game that's like, here are the 3 perfect representations of
I was just about
archetype,
to ask. I was just
You're
about
like,
to
I
ask.
had
If
no
I pitch you a
idea.
game where everything is so balanced that you can do anything and have fun. What do you do?
yeah, that's it. I know. I'd fucking everything basically. I'd probably make a mix of it. That's what I used to do when I played Fable. You know, that's kind of a game that does
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
that. It gives you
Yeah.
that choice. And like flat out, there's the 3 skill types, 3
Yeah,
archetypes
you're
to go
right.
through. God, that was a good game.
That was.
I think that Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning does this kind of blending thing where it's like you choose. Do you want to be like a warrior? Do you want to be warrior / rogue? Do you want to be warrior / rogue / mage? Do you want to be mage / rogue? And like it has like all these like blends of different classes.
Mhm.
I don't really know how balanced it gets. I never really get that far whenever.
Yeah,
I play.
wasn't that game like a huge disaster in many regards?
In many regards, I mean, critically, I've played a bit, and it really. What's too bad is that it really does do a lot of things super well, like things that like have. It's like a lot like Fable. It's like a big, or like almost too big version of Fable. Like the map is massive, but the combat is really responsive. It's almost like God of War, and like every weapon feels pretty unique in its fighting style. So it's really rewarding in that sense. But it's a bit overwhelming. But the point I'm getting at is that like your play style in your class is very fluid. So if you want to kind of be more spellcasting, if you want to be everything, there's literally an option. It's like I'm everything. I could do everything
Yeah.
I want.
I am God.
But it makes me wonder what the point of
Oh,
picking
yeah.
a class is if I'm gonna just pick like, oh, well, I want to do it all.
Mhm.
It's gonna stop me.
No one, apparently.
So is that? Yeah, I guess that's an interesting point. So games like that, which basically allow you to do everything, do you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing, and why?
Bad.
Unless the game is
Obviously.
perfectly balanced for that, like
Mhm.
it's you're meant to be that way. Like a game where like you just there's the protagonist is pre-written, and you're like
Right.
you're just like Geralt. Like Geralt he's not a magician, but he has like his signs, and it's like it's balanced to have the signs and the melee combat, and you could be kind of I don't know. Can you use stealth in The Witcher? I don't think.
Not really, no.
there's-
I feel like it's not really.
It's not really.
Yeah, I don't think
it's
so.
not really a jam.
Yeah. Okay. So no
It's
stealth
more of just
there.
a
but-
blend of magic and sword fighting with bombs and stuff. And like you can do like sneaky, you have traps and bombs, but you're not stealthing about really.
No,
like no one even knew he was there.
game, right?
Well, even Assassin's Creed, I feel like is not really like that anymore. Like when I was
No,
playing
Especially
Valhalla,
now. Yeah, jeez.
you pick you kind of are picking a class. But the classes in Assassin's Creed are basically your bowman, your berserker, or your an assassin. Essentially,
Mhm.
you pick between one of those 3 or a blend.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, the stealth has felt less and less of the rewarding aspects for me in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, well, they've kind of sacrificed stealth on the altar of everything else they're doing. But
Personally, I'm not one
No,
of the people who
I have no
hates
problem with it at all because I still think they're making good games, and I can understand why some people are put off by it. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
overall, for me, at
because
least, it's
and I can be a bit of the voice of that, where it's like they took away the one element of the game that was fun to me. The idea of stealthing around, just finding my mark, and then just taking him down.
yeah, it's definitely.
But
Not
it's
that
still
game.
there.
It's still there,
just-
but it's not
But
really.
you're not
like,
stealthing your way to
emphasized.
do it.
Yeah, it's like you're not encouraged to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes
the
you straight up
benefits
can.
are
Yeah,
well,
sometimes.
they did add one thing I found surprising, and I didn't know this. I went into the settings of Assassin's Creed Valhalla while I was playing, and they have like a robust selection of things that you can put in to make the game more like you would want it. Like you could turn on instant assassinations if you want it.
Yeah,
For
make it
example.
more classic in that sense.
And there's other modifiers you could turn on to alter the game, but you'd have to go in there and like find the balance that's good for you. But the default way, you have to earn the skill that lets you even get the chance to an instant assassination, and you have to like do a little mini game every time. Although, granted, the mini game is kind of easy.
Yeah, yeah. Like the wall that's there isn't exactly super tall, but I mean, like, I guess to an extent I can appreciate if someone just doesn't want to deal with that. They just want to play a classic Assassin's Creed experience, where it's like, no, my hidden blade's the one-shot kill, and I just stand there and counter until they're dead.
Okay, yeah, I understand, but even in the context of Valhalla, I felt like, you know what, I'm a Viking. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have to be sneaky.
Yeah,
Who cares?
it is.
Like, sometimes I would do it just for fun, but then I was like, who cares? If they see me, I'm like, okay, time to bring out the hammer. Like,
yeah. I don't know if Valhalla was a good thing for the Assassin's Creed series. I feel like
I
it would have
think
been
it was.
better as a standalone, frankly.
it wouldn't have sold as much without the
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
You
Yeah.
can make the exact same argument for all three of the modern ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, to say they're not good for the series is not right because they sell really well, but they're not what Assassin's Creed games were.
Yeah.
Or for depending on who you ask, should be. It's a lot like with Fallout. Like Fallout 4 is not a bad game; it's just a terrible Fallout game. And these new Assassin's Creed games are definitely not bad games. They're just not very good Assassin's Creed games. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, that's it.
Like when I think, like in the context of something like Assassin's Creed, when I think an assassin's not someone who benefits from fighting large crowds of people. He wants to be in and out, unseen kind of thing, which is why it was kind of jarring to me that the genre kind of moved away from that, made your character into this like martial artist god that just kills everything in his path, and then it's just like, yeah, but that's not what assassination is all about. Like assassination is like picking a mark, studying it, finding a point where it's weak, striking, and then running away. Like
You're straight up not an assassin in Valhalla, at least. Like,
No,
you're straight
not
up
at
like
all.
this. If you know, the thing is, like, you meet assassins in that game, but you are not one of them.
No, you're an associate.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, hey, you seem like a cool guy. You want a hidden blade? And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then that's
don't
it.
care.
Like,
It's literally
here's a
what
gift for you,
happens.
just a hidden blade. That's not even hidden anymore because
No, he's
Eivor
like,
wears
"Fuck
it like on
hiding
the
it."
outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Like fuck that shit.
It's like you're supposed to hide it. He's like, fuck
I'm a
you. I don't
Viking.
need. Yeah, I don't
Clearly
need
you
that
gave it to the
action.
wrong
Made
guy.
of gold, like
Little man.
it's shiny. It's
Yeah. All right. Well, I got another question. I could kind of play off something Dan mentioned while we were talking about archetypes.
sure.
What is depending on this, depending on the genre, what is your favorite either rule set or gameplay system? Like which game you think has the best mechanics overall?
Like for what it was as a genre.
Yeah,
you
like
mean?
it doesn't necessarily just have to be like if you want to specify like per genre, because it might be it's hard to compare. But if you also just want to say which game has by far your favorite rule set or gameplay system, depending on the kind of game it is.
Wow.
Because like KOTOR has like a rule set, but like Mass Effect 2 is more of like a gameplay system. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Oh, am I gonna be the one who has a hot take on this one?
I hope so.
I think I
I'm
might, I
gonna
might
wait.
also.
I'm gonna wait because I think I have a hot take on this one.
Favorite system.
So I might be misunderstanding here. Are we looking at I have an example of a game. I'm not 100% sure if this is the one I want to pick, but I'll give you an example of a game that I think would have a good system. So I love like I'm going to use 2 examples. Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima, and the way that their gameplay loop feeds into itself. It's like you're everything you do leads you to do the next thing, which leads to the next thing, which leads to the first thing, and like you get caught in this like a cycle, of flow cycle, where you're like, oh, I want to do that because that gives me this, and this will give me that, and that'll make that more fun and that easier. So then I have to do that. So it's like you're doing things that give you, for example, in Ghost of Tsushima, going to the baths. Okay, the baths. Some games would put that as a collectible. So it's like, okay, well, did you find all the baths? Like, who gives a shit? No, I don't care. But then they add 2 things. They're like, okay, what if we made it so that when you're in the bath, you increase your health by a little bit? They're like, okay, now I have motivation. Like, oh yeah, well, what if we threw in another thing? And every time you're in there, you get to hear an internal monologue where you get more exposition about how your character feels about everything that's happening. And now you have like, oh, okay, well now I want to find all the baths. And then you're going to go explore more to find baths. You're going to find more, and you're going to want to go to fights more. And you're going to want, like, it just, everything's like in Spider-Man. There's a reasonable number of all these things. It's not like, oh, did you find all 5,000 baths? It's like, okay, well, now I don't want to do it anymore.
What is it, the Korok seeds?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
No,
Yeah,
not
come
that.
on.
But no, yeah, I'd say that
Okay.
definitely counts, is what I'm saying. Like,
Okay.
like you could focus on specifically like combat if you want as a criteria, but yeah, that counts more like, yeah, as a rule set, like the mechanics of how you progress and stuff. Like, yeah, so that definitely is within what I was asking about.
Okay, okay, I'll need to think on it a bit more, but now I have a pretty good idea then.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll let someone else go.
Have you an idea then?
Oh, God. I mean, not really. Off the top of my head, like, goddamn. Let's see. Favorite game system. Dark
Okay,
Souls.
well, I mean, yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
that-
a
You know,
excellent-
like
That's
I
an
think
option,
that's the one thing that that could really come to my head is yeah, I feel like that was a system that was just so well balanced and fair, while still at the same time it was fair.
I'm
It
not
was
saying
fair.
it wasn't. It's just
For
I
the
know
most-
a lot of people
it has
that
its
would
moments, but
disagree.
yeah, for the most part, you're right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, albeit very difficult and like a hell of a learning curve, but like once you got it, like I can go back to an old Dark Souls and just like breeze through a couple things that gave me
Yeah.
hours and hours of pain. It has a very nice progressive system, and you feel you don't get stronger because your character has better gear. Like that's obviously
Well,
part
you
of that.
do, but
Part of it. But then you come back, you make a new character, and suddenly you're stronger than you've ever been before. Not because of the gear that you have, but because of the experience. Not
I
only
can
of dealing with
summarize that in
PvE,
one
but
word.
PvP.
I can summarize that in one word: the feeling of proficiency,
Yeah.
There you go.
getting good, like the actual Dark Souls meme of get good, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
for
And
real.
Any system that can reward you for really learning it is always
Yeah.
a good system, as opposed to one that's just in the name of fairness, just there's no benefit to
Yeah.
committing to it, you know. I have a couple I could say. One of them, it's a bit some hardcore recency bias right now, but I'm absolutely in love with the Pathfinder rule set, and I think it's a big part of why I'm loving playing Pathfinder so much right now. But something a little more. I mean, obviously, I agree with Dark Souls because it's Dark Souls.
Right.
But also, I absolutely loved playing and doing the combat in Nier Automata. It was just so much fun, so visceral, so
It was nice to look
enjoyable.
at.
yeah. And I know I'm not like an expert on those action fighting style games, but for me, who hasn't played much of them, that was like my first real introduction to like top tier like action combat, and I was in love with it.
Okay, I think I might have a very, very hot take here.
Oh,
Okay,
I love
I think I
I-
beat you, but sure, go ahead.
Oh, you definitely will be, because it's not that insane. It's insane for a different reason. I'm gonna say, bear with me on this. I'm gonna say Far Cry 3,
Ooh.
and I'm gonna explain why.
interesting.
Ooh.
I think that Far Cry now it's like, oh yeah, you have to climb the tower and you gotta survey the area and you gotta get all the collectibles. And I think that that's sort of a fatigue that people have with the Ubisoft formula that's been going on for a while. But I think that Far Cry 3 was one of the first times, especially and definitely in the Far Cry series, because 2 was a little more open-ended and a little more like it it felt a little more like realistic, I guess, in its environments and everything. It was more of like it felt like more like a simulation. Far Cry 3 was more of an action arcade game, and the reason I picked Far Cry 3 is because it was the first time I had seen that at that time, and at the time I think it felt perfect and engaging, and I wanted to do everything because everything fed into the gameplay loop. Killing everyone in an outpost and like trying to be stealthy, and you do get OP because you do get like I would get like a sniper with max damage and a silencer and explosive bullets. So like I shoot people, everyone's exploding. A helicopter comes, I shoot it once, it explodes. It's just like you get to the point of feeling so powerful, and you just want to keep getting more and more powerful. You want to kill more animals, so you get more space to hold bullets. You want to have more potions or whatever, so you can get even faster and stronger. Like you're just like everything feeds into the enjoyment of just playing the game, and that's all in addition to the whole aspect of what's it called of oh man, I'm missing the word here, but it's basically like the fact that random events can occur. Like there's a certain amount of unexpectedness in each playthrough because of the AI spawning and animal spawning. So it created like a sense of the unknown every time. Even if they did literally copy and paste the same base a few times, sometimes maybe a bald eagle will start attacking some of the people there, and then it gives you an engagement for being stealthy, like gives you an opportunity. So yeah, I would, as much as I want to pick Spider-Man because Spider-Man's awesome, I just think that Far Cry 3 gives me a better way of articulating what it is exactly that I love about systems that feed into themselves.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That's
And
a
actually
nice
inspired
answer,
a
actually.
secondary answer from me. I freaking Modern Doom. Now that's that's a gameplay
Yo.
loop I can do forever.
That's a good
Modern
example,
Doom
man.
is so satisfying.
It's
Hell yeah.
insanely
Rip
satisfying.
and tear, man.
Rip and tear
Rip
to your
and
heart's
tear.
fucking content.
Beautiful gameplay mechanics in that game.
Yeah.
That's some game design perfection in my opinion.
Simple,
Like, modern day,
effective, visceral.
Peak
just
first person gameplay by far, no question.
so good.
and they deserve every penny.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Speaking
I
of which, I
guess
need
I'm
to go
gonna
buy
go
the
for my
DLCs.
answer. Guess I'm ready to drop a hot take on everybody.
Let's hear
But
it.
I'm gonna start by easing into it with
Oh, no.
a good take by saying that RPG being my favorite genre, I guess my favorite execution of an RPG would be Final Fantasy IX. It's like the perfect turn base for me. Like everything about how equipment, skills, the rotation of the characters that you get, and how some of them interact with one another. It was just mwah, chef's kiss.
What sets that apart from Final Fantasy X? I'm asking because I actually legitimately don't know.
Okay, well, Final Fantasy IX has kind of like Final Fantasy X. Each character does its own thing, where you have a black mage, you have two white mage, you have other characters that fit between warrior and roguish type characters. But the execution is done so that you get equipment that have skills that can be learned, whether they be new spells for the black mages, whether they be passive things like the warriors are going to get a lot of like HP plus 10%. And as you level up, you get more room to equip some of those abilities. So it's sometimes a game of having to compromise. I don't need that much HP. I'm going to remove some HP, but to equip that new skill I got, that's very powerful. I loved how you had certain characters that interacted with each other, like the black mage and the warrior. If you had them in your party at the same time, the warrior had access to a new set of skills that was like elemental strike. So you could do like Firaga strike, and then he would hit with his sword for a lot of damage, but also release Firaga at the same time, dealing extra fire damage on top of it.
Okay, I
and
think Chrono
the
Trigger
inter-
might have something like that too.
Yeah, like paired text that like if you had two people in the party at the same time that had their AP bar ready, like you could have like paired action. But in Final Fantasy IX, it's not a paired action; it's a single action on behalf of the warrior. So you
Okay.
can still also cast magic over it. There's a mechanic also of like exploring the overworld map through like a treasure hunt system where some of the ultimate weapons for some of your characters is going to be like if you do the treasure hunts to the end, you'll start getting treasures that contain some of the ultimate weapons. And getting some of those ultimate weapons was just insane. Like the real ultimate weapon for the warrior required you to get to basically the end of the game in under a certain amount of hours. So if you were really good, you would get to that point, but it was so difficult. It's like get to that point of the game, like basically the proceeding here will block you from progressing or doing anything else. Click yes to continue kind of thing. It's right after that point. So you basically compromise on getting a bunch of other things undone just to get that one weapon, but it's worth it. Like, it's so strong. But there was just so much to love about how Final Fantasy IX was executed that as an RPG, it's probably always going to be my favorite. But where my hot take comes in is that
here we go.
my favorite like way to implement some of the gameplay mechanics of a game was Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh god.
Okay, I need an explanation on that one.
Yeah.
Andromeda as a gameplay, like if you forget everything else that was so janky about like the animations being kind of weird, the graphics not being as good as people felt they should have been for the time it was released, if you discard all of those minor displeasures, the gameplay of Andromeda is so insanely dynamic. Everything's happening faster. Everything feels satisfying to use. The biotic abilities, the tech abilities, they feel nice to use.
Just the
you get
combat,
an
right?
interesting- Yeah. Like,
Okay.
for it purely, like, because let's be real, like, Mass Effect is a two-faced game. You get the combat situations, you get the social situations. The social situations are kind of eh. I mean, it didn't reinvent the whole dialogue wheel, but I don't think it bricked it as hard as people say it did. But the combat was so good. Like, the multiplayer of Mass Effect Andromeda felt so good because the game was just so dynamic. Just adding the option to jump, like, you're talking about a whole other level of map design now because you got to consider verticality. You have characters that can hover. You got characters that can air. I think all characters can air dash to an extent, but like all of a sudden, like the map, which was already fun, just expanded a lot in not only what could be offered by the game, but in how you could tackle it as the player. And I felt like battle mechanics wise, Andromeda was the best iteration of the Mass Effect series. And that's
Combat
pretty
wise, I
much-
would definitely agree. No, I agree. I would agree with you that the combat was very good in Andromeda, but it wasn't, from personally, it wasn't enough to get me
Yeah.
to finish the game. Which is a shame because, yeah, you know what? I remember when I started and being like, "Wow, this is so fun!" Like deking out enemies like midair, like using like a bit of a boost, and like it was almost like it had a bit of Vanquish DNA in it. Like the movement was really dynamic and fast, and you feel kind of badass when you're like jumping and zigzagging away from enemy bullets and then just blasting them from the sky. It feels really good.
I'll blast you from the sky.
Oh baby.
Oh yeah.
All right.
What? Yeah.
I think that was that everybody?
I think so. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone copped out of an answer on that one.
Nope. Okay. So, all right, you guys want another soft one or you want a juicy one?
Yo, give me some juice, man.
All right, some juice, eh?
Let's
Okay.
stir the shit pot. I'm all up for stirring that shit pot.
Okay. This maybe not so much a shit stirring moment, but it's definitely probably going to require some thinking. What is your favorite moment in any game?
Jesus
It could
Christ.
be anything. Only criteria is that it's a single moment. So like one scene, one conversation, one revelation, one twist. So it can't be like a whole mission or a whole. Well, I mean, you could. If you want to say a whole mission, you got to say like what was the moment where it clicked, you know. But yeah, your single just moment.
Okay, wait. Before we go on with this one, as everyone I could think of involves massive spoilers.
Oh,
so I'm
yeah.
just gonna say,
That's true.
Spoiler
I
flashing
warned
across
before.
the screen. Yeah, yeah.
And but I also don't want to have certain games ruined for me. So, and
So
I'll
maybe
warn
let's
before
say
I-
a non-story
Well,
moment, maybe like a mechanic.
If
that
you have
stood
a
out to
story,
you.
if you have a spoilery story moment, like run the game by us first. If we've all played it or okay with knowing, then we'll say it.
or I'll just mute out. Like I'll deafen myself for like. a
Like
certain
mine
period of time.
aren't at least the two. Well, I'll tell you about the two that come to mind right off the bat for me. One is the conversation with Sovereign in Mass Effect 1.
Oh,
That was
okay.
just like
I was shitting my pants during that
a
conversation.
mind blowing like revelatory moment in my life, basically. And another one is a scene from the first Half-Life game, where so like the first Half-Life, I was, there's aliens invading, and then the soldiers come in, and they're looking for you, Gordon Freeman, trying to capture you, and all that. But then as the game progresses, like, shit is not going well for the natives of Earth. And there's a moment where you kind of are walking through, and you come into this, just like a little security station, and there's bombs dropping out overhead. Everything's shaking. The lights are flashing in and out. Words. And then on the radio, you hear this soldier just screaming, "Forget about Freeman. We're pulling out." And to me, it was just like, holy shit, stuff has hit the fan here. As you hear the bombs falling, everything's breaking. You're like a good 2/3 at least through the game at this point, and now like one of the main enemies that you've been dealing with for pretty much the whole game is pulling out, and you're just like, oh man, we're not only am I thankfully still not captured, but like the aliens have the run of the place now. Like, it's still getting progressively worse, and it's the moment where you realize like the situation isn't really fixable or salvageable.
Enter Half-Life 2.
Pretty much, yeah.
Things get worse.
Exactly. It's that moment where you be like, okay, I can see how the world went from this to what Half-Life 2 is. And another spoilers for Knights of the Old Republic. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
go
mean, I
ahead.
already know what happens.
Yeah,
so.
I think we all
I
might
haven't
want
played,
to
but I don't
mention.
care about spoilers for that game.
I think we
First one?
Yeah,
First
the first
game?
one. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, we're good.
yeah. The Revan twist.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. So yeah, those would be my answers. If I had to pick one, I would probably pick the conversation with Sovereign, just because it was so, oof. I don't even know. I can't even put into words. It's like an orgasm without the sex,
Oh yeah.
Literary orgasm.
Yeah.
I agree,
have,
though. That conversation shook my pants like nothing else.
I have a couple. I think I may have even mentioned one before on this podcast. Actually, did I mention the Transformers Devastation one? It's like one of my favorite moments in any video game. Very surprisingly, that it's a Transformers game, and I'm not even a Transformers fanboy.
I don't think so.
I could tell you it's like it is a spoiler, but I don't even remember which were the two characters involved. But I just remember how cool of a subversion they pulled. That game is really underrated in my opinion, but there's basically so the way the Transformers Devastation works is that you play the game alternating between Autobots and Decepticons. So you're like, you play from the perspective of the heroes, the villains, heroes, villains, heroes, villains, whatever. Like, that's the alternating factor, and you rarely play as the same character twice, except if it's Optimus Prime. It'll always be like you're playing as a new character in a different location, and pretty unique gameplay for that chapter. So there's one moment where you're playing as the hero. You see, like, it shows you who you're going to play as when you're picking a chapter. It's like you're playing as this guy, and I'm like, all right. So you're playing as one of the Autobots. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about some aspects of the characters, but pretty sure you're an Autobot. You get sent to like this base, this air base, and you have to like hack something. And you start hacking these things. You go up to computers and you have to like tip tap on the keyboards, whatever, blah blah blah. You're tapping. You go to the next one, tap tap tap, and it's a third person shooter. So the camera's behind you. The camera pulls back and becomes third person for the villain, and then gives you a quick time event to murder the character you're currently playing as. And I was like,
Dude, that's cool.
what the fuck? And then you just impale him and your Starscream, and you just jump out the window and become a plane for the first time in the game, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, just
Nice.
like, what
That's a nice
kind of
handoff.
Holy shit! Yeah,
That's
and
a sick
that doesn't
handoff.
happen. That does not happen at all for the rest of the game. There's no handoffs at all like that. It's all like, oh, next chapter. Okay, I'm in someone new. But no, that time they're like, yeah, this guy's dead. We're just switching to a new person, and you're like a villain now. I was just like, and they're like, oh no, he's legit dead now. Like, that character is gone. You murdered him. So that is one of the scenes that I feel like is marked me forever as being like one of the coolest things. My second choice is going to be a little brief because I don't want to go into too much detail, especially if no one's played the game. But Red Dead Redemption 1, has anyone played that?
I played RD1.
I beat it. Yeah.
Oh, you've all played it?
Yeah.
Okay, so John Marston opening the barn doors for me is like...
Yeah.
Because I thought for a second, I was like, I'm going to do it. Holy shit, he's going to pull it off. Like, halfway through, and then it stopped, the dead eye stops, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly. Oh man, no, that is a pretty good moment. Yeah. I mean, my two were. I mean, well, fuck. I mean, Jacob kind of got it already with the whole KOTOR thing.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's
I knew it was going to come up.
testament for how good of a moment it is. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
But aside from that best moment in gaming, I mean, I will say, and it's a bit of a strange pick, but the ending of Skyward Sword, the whole revelation with Demise and all that.
Wait. Should I never finished
all I'll
it,
say
so
about
wait,
it.
wait.
I didn't finish it either, but I know what you're talking about.
The ending of Skyward Sword really hit me, and I feel like if anyone hasn't played it, like, I know the motion controls are tough, but especially now, the new version's going to come out. It's got controller support, so you can even do that. But like, do it. Trust me. It's
The only reason I cannot hate on Skyward Sword is because of how fundamental it is in establishing the Zelda lore.
yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know that much.
Oh yeah, it runs deep. It runs really deep. For me,
Of course, I
I
haven't
would
gotten that
say.
spoiled.
For me, I would say it's a pretty. It's a pretty. How can I say this? Like, it can appear like not much to a lot of people, but for me, it was the ending of Shovel Knight's Plague Knight DLC. That moment hit me hard. Like, the moment you realize, and I don't know how deep I can go into this without people being worried. So, you stop me if I'm getting into spoiler territory.
I mean,
I
make
haven't played it, but I'm okay to hear some of it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
too sensitive for Shovel Knight's DLC.
Yeah, same.
I mean, yeah, it's not insanely plot, like there's no big reveal or insane twist. It's just you learn something about the character, I suppose. But you realize, like, you start the game thinking that you're playing this like mad scientist kind of guy that's just trying to become stronger by brewing the most powerful brew that any alchemist's ever done, kind of thing. And then you play the game, you fight the bosses, you go through the whole shebang, right? And then you beat the game, and you realize that he was doing that just to get the people around him, the people he cared for, to acknowledge him and like give him praise. Not even give him praise in the like vain way. Like, he was really doing it just to catch his assistant's attention, Mona. And then she just looks at him and she's like, you know, you could have just danced with me, right?
Aww.
And that was just like, aw, well, ain't that cute, you know? It was like this unexpected kind of twist where you realize that the character really wasn't this like big badass that's just trying to be strong for the sake of like some heroic or some mischievous kind of. No, he did it to impress the one girl that he cared for, kind of thing. And I felt so insanely, like, that moment was so insanely relatable to me that I was just like, damn, dude, they done did it. They done subvert my expectation about the very character I was playing, like, up
That's
to the
always
very
fun.
end.
Yeah.
And that hit me pretty hard. In a nice way.
Yeah. No, it violated me. No, we'll get to
I
that
felt
question.
so robbed.
Well, another one I thought of, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 2 spoilers.
Yeah, I'm sensitive here.
Okay.
I'm gonna deafen for a
It'll
quick
take.
second.
You want to just hop out for 2 seconds because I just want to say it to those who have.
I
It'll
already
only be
feel
a
like I know what
2
it's gonna be.
when your horse dies.
Oh my! Everyone! You read that, they're like, "Thanks, buddy." And oh boy,
Yeah.
that was
No,
a horse I had for a long
when,
time.
when he
too,
thanks
and I
it,
was like,
I broke.
Yeah.
When he thanks it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm done.
Game over, man.
I was smart on their behalf for doing that. I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was really smart.
Jesus,
Like,
for
it was
sure.
just like a little thing, but it was perfect. All right. I don't know how to tell Louis he can come back because he just muted
Message
himself.
him. We can message in the general or something.
No, I'm good. I'm back.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Surprised also, Jacob. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I'm surprised you picked that one because I feel like there's a lot of spoilery like twist moments towards the end that you could have gone for. But
Yeah.
that's a popular one too.
Yeah, that
I'm
one
sure.
just
Like,
I don't know. It just hit me.
it's not
different.
even mine. Like
Yeah.
I think you know mine. I'm not going to say it,
Yeah.
but like mine was is optional. You might not even get it
Yeah.
in your playthrough, but it's just like those conversations that are so good.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's yeah.
Just great acting overall in that game.
Yeah. Yeah. One last honorable mention of a moment. Last of Us 1 spoilers.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. The giraffe scene in Last of Us 1. That just hit me like it was just perfect. Coming
In
out of
what
winter.
way?
Yeah, so I
Just-
never understood people's big thing with that scene.
It's just that reminder that Ellie is just a child and she just went through like all these horrible things and is about to go through all these other horrible things. And it's just a beautiful moment to just remind everybody like, yeah, this is just someone that like had their childhood stolen from them in this awful world, but yet after everything, you still managed to find this one sweet and satisfying moment right before, you know, everything hits the fan again.
A refreshing moment of innocence.
Exactly.
And then back to Last of Us 2, where more things go wrong for Ellie.
Yeah. But we don't talk about that. No,
I do.
I know. I do too. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I don't talk
Yeah.
nicely about it though.
No, you definitely don't.
So yeah.
That
Okay.
you do not.
All right. Did anyone else have any moments they wanted to mention?
It's a toss-up in Dark Souls 1 whether I prefer the fight and the impact and what it means against Gwyn over Artorias. Because I feel like while Gwyn was like the guy who I guess you were aware of most of the time, Artorias was like this little side story of this hero who's basically doing what you were doing, and then to find him in like you had to wait till the DLC came out, and then you find him and you're hoping like maybe he's okay, maybe he still has a bit of humanity, and he's just this fucking like soulless monster. And if you slow down the voice clips and clean them up, like he's talking to you, and it's so intense. It's so intense.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention the Gwyn fight, but I don't think that my feeling about it was directly a result of the game and more a result of what I had put myself through in the name of playing that game. But not that it wasn't a good moment or that they didn't craft that moment to be kind of like that, but a part of it was kind of like edging on like months of bashing my head against the bleeding wall because it's just like it's just insane. And I disagree with the Artorias fight. I think they handled it so terribly.
Really?
He should have been the last boss of the DLC, not the first one.
Second. You
Oh yeah, I forget about the Manticore.
I know,
keep
it's
forgetting
very
about the
forgettable, but
Manticore.
I
But
will.
like, there should have been like much more of a build up. I would have loved a more involved cutscene or something. Like, but there, you just enter a place. You're not even aware that you're about to go and fight against Artorias, and then Artorias. It felt like a name drop more than anything.
Yeah, I think it's more after the fact as you learn more about him and stuff that it kind of gains its
And
awesome
to be
sauce.
fair, in the grand scheme of the context of Artorias' story, it doesn't make sense that you fight him outside of the Abyss. It always bugged me that, like, what is he doing here? Is it even the real Artorias? Like, it bugged me. Those questions bug me, and they still do to this day.
Oh, I just got a moment. I just got a real good memory of a moment that like when my jaw literally dropped physically, and that only happens when I'm like fucking blown away. But this is like colossal spoiler territory for BioShock Infinite.
Oh, okay.
I've played it, so yeah, go for it.
Good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good. The second the portal closes on Booker's daughter's Pinky, I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
fucking god. I felt so stupid for not even like guessing that. I was like, wait, what? And then like everything in the game just like, because like I remember one of my favorite things was when BioShock Infinite came out. There was like this whole thing where people were like, well, we played BioShock 1, so we know there has to be some sort of twist. So everyone's like being super attentive, like is Elizabeth saying like a phrase to trigger Booker? So everyone, and I remember the review from IGN saying, yeah, there's a twist. No, you will not guess it. Don't worry about it. Like, you're not going to figure it out. It was, wow, that was something else. And then there's the twist in Burial at Sea as well. But that one wasn't quite as jaw-dropping for me as the Elizabeth one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes,
god damn.
great moment for sure. All right. Next question.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hit another heavy boy.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're gonna like this one, Julian. Your favorite story in a video game.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. All right.
Story.
You're gonna play me like that?
Yep. Of course. Come on, you knew this question was coming.
I actually didn't. I was oblivious. I don't know why. That's story. Ooh.
That's difficult. That one's difficult, Jacob.
I know.
There's so many honorable mentions I can think of, but I don't know that I can define one as being best.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, I can give huge shout outs to the entire Metal Gear series. I can give huge shout outs to things like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, but like, the story's not deep, it's not rich, it's just
No.
interesting in the way it's presented.
Yeah, that one's kind of a hard one to. This is just like best, proper, full story. Like I love the lore and everything in Dark Souls, but I would never say it has a good story in the traditional sense.
Same with me in Bioshock. Like I do like the story in the Bioshock games, but I feel like it's not consistently good enough. Like through and through, like it just has like these exciting, great story moments and great twists. I don't think it's like consistently 100%. Like it's definitely not my pick for my favorite story. I think. Okay, no, never mind. I need a second. I almost picked it, but I was like, no, I can't.
Yeah. Also, you can pick a series if there's like a pair or a trilogy of games with a strongly connected overarching story. In a different timeline, my answer would be Mass Effect, but unfortunately, we don't live in that timeline.
Yeah, no.
I think I'm stuck between two, but I'll just say them both because I don't think I'm ever gonna come to a conclusion.
That's fair.
Shit, sorry, I just saw a third one. Now my life is ruined. So just give me a sec. I was about to say it, I saw that, and I was like, oh,
Like, oh,
fuck.
nope. Everything is wrong again.
Why you gotta play me like that?
Favorite story? Oh my god.
Oh, that's an easy one for me. Earthbound. Hands down.
Oh yeah.
Hands down. Simplicity of childhood.
Not even KOTOR, not even...
KOTOR's great, don't get me wrong. But I mean, to an extent, KOTOR 2 was a better story. I think
Slightly
ultimately,
incomplete, but overall, yeah.
yeah,
Like what it was meant to be, absolutely.
yeah, exactly. The intention that the way that they opened it up and allowed the player to have such or rather how they wanted it to be. Yeah, because I mean, things don't always turn out for those poor guys.
No.
But yeah, no, I think Earthbound. It hits every single note that it needed to hit, and by the end of it, I was crying, and I didn't even know why.
And you really need to play Amori. And you really need to play that game.
Really,
Seriously. Yeah. Like if you like Earthbound, like I haven't even played Earthbound, but I just played this, and I know the similarities, and I'm like, okay, that game, I beat it, and it almost made me cry, and it's my game of the year right now. So
nice.
I think it's definitely worth the playthrough. But I'm gonna go with for my favorite story. I want to say Red Dead Redemption, the series, just because it's so consistently good and interesting with all the characters. I feel bad saying it because there's just like story-wise, there's just so much that I really love. Like Disco Elysium is like my tie for that, just because it's such consistently good writing. It's like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of filler and things that don't contribute to the overall plot and like what the game's trying to be in its identity. Red Dead Redemption succeeds in everything it's trying to do as a series, and so does Disco Elysium. So those are my picks.
In my case, there might be a certain element of recency bias, but I'm gonna go for Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I absolutely fell in love with that game when it came out, and for the hundreds and some odd hours that I've played, it's just the idea that you can pick between 3, if not 4 factions, that each of those faction has its own take on what's going on with comparable levels of depth to how they interact with the events that are going on. Like I started multiple playthrough to kind of test the waters of like how the different houses played out. and I was so happy to see, even though I didn't finish all of them, I was so happy to see that it was not just a color coded for the sake of being able to tell them apart, but also because they each have a very nuanced point of view on the events and on like the church and the politics that are involved in the war surrounding it. Like it was really well executed, and I love that game. Like genuinely appreciated everything about it. It was a good game.
I respect that. I did love Fire
It's
Emblem
just
Three
it's
Houses.
so tough. Like when you're talking about things like story, like there's so many things. Like Final Fantasy IX story to me is amazing, but I know of some of its shortcomings and some of the critiques that people have of it, and I can't disagree that some of it's not genuine critique or concern. Like I dislike games that introduce these like villains of the 11th hour, and the final boss of the game is some being that you didn't even know exists up until the point where you're facing it, kind of thing. And like
That's very
there are
JRPG-ish.
elements like this, yeah, and that can be kind of a turn off. But at the same time, it's like it's still like the rest of the story is just there's so many details. It's just like the game starts off with a presentation of a play and a very cliche theme of fantasy of like you play the role of the one stealing the girl away, but it's still just the princess is getting stolen away, and there's a play that's being presented. And if you pay a bit of attention to the play that's being presented, the "I Want to Be Your Canary" play, there's so many parallels between that little play and the grand arching story of that game, that by the point where you start making those parallels, because you go through the play twice, I believe, like you just start seeing those parallels and they add up, and it makes it feel so rich, because it's like, oh my god, yeah, I can see the parallel now. It's insane, yeah. And it was just so good. But at the same time, it's like I absolutely loved Final Fantasy VIII storytelling up to a point where it just gets super wonky, and I'm just like, whoa, you guys kind of lost me there. I wanted to mention Final Fantasy VI, but it's so cliche at this point that I don't know that I can call something that's so predictable best. So it's
call it
a
your favorite,
tough
though.
question. It's definitely a tough
There is a
question.
difference between favorite and best. I would argue.
Yeah,
Yeah, even if
especially
you to earn that spot, then like, hey, praise where
it fought hard. Like Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VI is definitely up there, like in my notable mentions. But I stick to my guns, and Fire Emblem Three Houses was some of the best writing I've seen in video games in a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well, for me, I have a few honorable mentions as well. But as far as the best story I've played in a game, is Planescape.
And I really want to play that.
I spent this entire discussion thinking of any other game I could name instead of that, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I just
I-
couldn't. Obviously,
I still feel like you have a bit of a recency bias on that one, but if it's really that
Planescape. I played that
matters-
like the better part of a decade ago.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've been ask Dan. I've been preaching this game like since he was still in acting school when I played it.
Oh
Yeah,
damn,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah. No, if anything, this is a nostalgia more than a recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
I want a bit of recency bias.
Oh, hold on. I was thinking of
yeah.
Pathfinder. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. No.
That was a mental sideways jump for me.
No, the Pathfinder is actually different. It doesn't have like the as like focused of a central narrative. It's more about like building your barony and dealing with more side stuff that come up. But yeah, Planescape is just. But I mean, I already said it has the best villain, the best antagonist, so it's got the best story too. Like, and honestly, probably has the best side characters too. I didn't name any yet, but they're probably from that as well. Honorable mentions though: Nier Automata,
Obviously.
Red Dead Redemption 2, Witcher 3. Yeah, those would be my top probably that I can think of off the top of my head. Pillars of Eternity 1. That's like my cliched story pick because like it's not like groundbreaking in any stretch. It's a very by the book fantasy setting, but what it did do, I loved the direction it took, and I love the story of Pillars as well. First one, not so much the second one, but first one, yes.
I would like to throw in a few honorable mentions too. I'm not going to even detail them. I just want to say their names because I feel like I'm doing them an injustice by not even mentioning them.
Yeah.
Like it's just I gotta say, like, I'm looking at my list here and I gotta say, like, Persona 5, Silent Hill 2, Soma, the Danganronpa series.
Oh, really?
And,
I didn't realize you were a man of culture.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Good.
Danganronpa is a tough one too because it's like I mean, it occasionally gets very trope anime-y.
Oh yeah.
And like I don't love when anime does that, when it gets very tropey, but I think
That's
the
all
better
anime
part
is,
of
no
it.
kidding.
Yeah.
But the better part of it isn't. I think the better part of it does some cool original stuff, and it has you thinking really hard, and I think it's pretty original. And just to cap all of that off, I'll place a little cherry of Telltale's The Walking Dead, just to top that.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. All right. Has everyone said their piece with the story?
I think so.
Big shout out to Shovel Knight's entire cast of stories, plural, because it was also very well executed. Spectre of Torment was beautiful. It was so enjoyable. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of it for me.
All right. This one should be a relatively quick one, but also a two-parter. First part of that, and I think, well, for three of us, I think I know the answer. I'm actually not so sure for Julian. What is your favorite genre? RPGs for me. But
Yeah.
a very, very, very strong love for my first love, which was first-person shooters. But as much as I love them, I love RPGs more.
Yeah.
So yeah, the rest of y'all. And
Yeah, no, I
within that, if you say RPG like me, then what subgenre of RPG? JRPG, CRPG, ARPG? Yeah.
Oh god, that one's tougher.
Yeah.
Because I have a huge appreciation for tactic-based games like Fire Emblem, and obviously
Yeah, or you could say a tactical RPG.
Tactics Ogre, all that goodness. Triangle strategy, I guess.
Project Triangle.
Project
Triangle.
Triangle. Sorry. Want to get the pronouns right.
You
Let's
never will.
No, I know. Fuck.
Louis,
I guess
do you-
ARPG by that me. Like I like the games where I get to not necessarily where it's entirely turn-based. Games like Dark Souls. Some people would say Zelda, but like I'm not really sure that Zelda's an RPG.
No,
It's
it's more
not.
action
Have
adventure.
elements
It's an
of it,
action
but, like,
platformer,
Yeah, exactly.
adventure action platformer.
Yeah. Well, maybe the newest Zelda. Maybe you could say Breath of the Wild has some RPG elements because you're constantly leveling up and getting new items and all
No,
that.
you're not getting new items.
I mean, aren't you?
You're getting variations of the same weapons.
Yeah, you're just
over
getting
Yeah,
the not
it is-
broken
Yeah,
replacement.
Sure. I mean, but one could argue semantically that like a lot of RPGs have stuff like that. Like, what's the difference between that and say Diablo finding like the umpteenth pair of pants plus?
Oh, I'm not
Because you have
arguing you on
stats and
that
skills
one.
in Diablo.
Yeah, and the look of it changes over time to get more and more epic looking.
I mean, there are different levels.
Yeah,
of-
I mean, I'm not arguing with you on that one. Like,
I'm not saying it is an RPG because it isn't by
It
any.
definitely has RPG elements, but
But it's certainly certainly
I
has
wouldn't
RPG.
classify it as a full
But yeah,
RPG.
like getting to pick between upgrading your health and your stamina, like that's RPG in a nutshell.
Yeah, definitely RPG mechanic. It's RPG light if anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you said what? Action RPGs is your favorite
I guess so. Yeah.
subgenre?
Something like Dark Souls kind of
Dark
thing.
Souls, Diablo. I mean, honestly, most of the ones that come out these days are more action oriented than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, Louis, did you have? answer?
I'm kind of debating a little bit internally because like I know the expected answer is probably like RPG.
Yeah,
But I'll be
it is.
honest with you.
I straight up painted you with it already. So
Yeah.
I'll be honest
Make me a
with you,
fool.
like even just earlier in this podcast, I mentioned RPG being my favorite,
Yeah.
and the more I think about it, the less I'm sure that's true.
Okay.
It's definitely an important genre to me. Like it's always gonna be dear to my heart, and I'm always gonna like if you tell me like, yo, this cool new RPG's coming out, I'm you got my attention, like for sure. But honestly, I think like Metroidvania kind of platformers like a la Mega Man X to a certain extent, like Shovel Knight, Mega Man X, Castlevania, Metroid. Huge shout out to Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight, Bloodstain. Like, it's just there's so much good stuff in that genre. It can be super dynamic, as it can be like very RPG-esque. Like, there's been a lot of Castlevania games with level up mechanics and like equipment and so like
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so like yeah, I think I would go for something like action platformer kind of thing, something dynamic, you know, something that gets you moving, something fun. Because the thing is that like there's been so many games like turn-based RPGs that have been so crucial to my development as a gamer that it's just like I can't not speak of Pokemon somewhere in there. I can't not mention Final Fantasy 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 13 to a certain extent, I guess. But like these games were so important to me at certain points of my life, but I don't know that I have the same appreciation for them as I used to. And which is why I'm very excited to see that Pokemon is kind of moving forward with a more like open world approach to how it can operate. But yeah, something hugely dynamic, like action platformer kind of thing, would probably be my genre of choice at this point.
Cool.
Because the RPG element now, it's like it's so ubiquitous, like it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is. But if you have harder standards, then it's a little less. Yeah, for me, I mean, RPGs, like I said, and as far as a subgenre of RPG, I gotta go with CRPGs, like Pillars of Eternity,
That checks out.
Pathfinder, Planescape.
Divinity.
Honestly, I don't love Divinity as much as other people do, but yes, it definitely qualifies. Yeah, because I just
Baldur's
love.
Gate.
I mean, I haven't played them enough to put them on a list of mine, but definitely, I mean, any D&D based game, any game with a similar rule set. Like I said, I'm really loving the Pathfinder rule set, which is, part of why I'm loving the game so much. And you can't have that in other genres because they're either more action focused or they're turn based. Although Pathfinder and a lot of these CRPGs have turn based options now, but I still prefer real time with pause.
Dragon Age style.
Yeah, and like all the classics, Baldur's Gates and stuff were like that.
Right. Everyone's nice.
Yep. And yeah, just because, for me, it emphasizes the things I love the most, which is like good writing, dialogue choices, real depth and diversity in how you deal with scenarios and such. I think, they don't have the graphics or as engaging a action-oriented combat system or things like that. But to me, they're the truest renditions of RPGs, at least, classic like tabletop styled RPGs, like and Pathfinder in particular. May not have like the best story yet or anything, but I think it's the most faithful of any of these games I've played to the actual tabletop experience. But yeah, that's why I love CRPGs the most, because they're the most RPG of the RPGs. The CRPG, like the other RPGs, when you say ARPG, it's like, okay, well, this is an RPG, but it's action focused. The C is almost like not even necessary because it just means computer RPG, and to me, it's just the purest example of RPGs on the computer. So yeah, all right, Julian.
Okay, so I've been tossing up two in my head. I want to say ARPG because I think that like very action heavy RPGs, like where RPG is more of an afterthought. Like I want to spend more of my time in a game doing reaction based like challenges, and then when I want to take a second away, I want to look through my stats and like try and buff myself and like try and do some strategies to make my character stronger. My truest answer would be survival horror, but the genre has been like mostly absent, so it's like I almost don't even know anymore. Like I love survival horror, and if there was a survival horror game, especially in the AAA, I'll eat it up immediately. but it's like all my memories, everything I think of with survival horror is, and I mean, I want to specify when I say survival horror, I don't mean just any game that's horror. I mean like games where you have a means of defending yourself, but not great means of defending yourself. That is the specific, hyper-specific genre of game that I love the most. But it doesn't even like exist anymore. So I have to resort to the one that's there. Because Resident Evil 8, like that's it. But basically, it's just Capcom doing this, like Capcom and Resident Evil. Otherwise, it's like I might as well just say Resident Evil. Like there's so few in this this category. Silent Hill used to do it really well. PS2 had tons of games like that. But for the most part now, it's like okay, I guess. Yeah, if I want to play something scary, I got to play like defenseless horror games, which I personally I don't love quite as much. I like feeling like I shouldn't engage in combat, but I can. If a push comes to shove, I can take a risk. Like even Evil Within does that. Do you guys have any experience with horror at all, or you guys all tend to
I
avoid it?
studied them in school.
My experience with horror is playing Amnesia, going down a hallway, seeing whatever those things are, freaking out, turning around, running back down the other hallway. But the moment I turned around, there was another one, and I quit, and I've never played it since.
Were you far?
Probably not very far, if I had to
Okay.
guess. I honestly have no idea. I can't really remember any details of what I was doing.
Did you fight Did you encounter the water monster?
Yes. Or at least
That's
some form of a water monster, that's for sure.
well, the monster in the
That just
water,
runs in the
I think.
water, and you just see its footsteps, and it just
Yep.
fucking yeah. I'm honestly
That is
so proud of
cool.
myself that I didn't quit there, but it
Good
didn't
for
take
you.
much longer.
That
yeah,
was fucking
yeah.
scary.
just hearing it, and then you turn, you're like, where is it? And you just see the water on the just fucking getting splashed. You're like, oh no.
It's so fast too.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
like I don't want to like turn this into like a huge discussion about horror, but I will say that like the way that you present monsters in a horror game is like it's like 90% of what makes it scary. Because if you just drop like a zombie into the game, it's not really particularly intimidating. It's just like there needs to be an air of mystery and like a buildup of like you don't really know exactly what's chasing you, but there's something pursuing you. And the music can reflect this, because I find that there's too many games like Outlast, for example, where like when I play Outlast 1, I would purposefully run into the thing that's chasing me because it would hit me once, and I would get like an invincibility frame where I could like run right by it and then go in the other direction. So I blasted through that game in no time at all because I found out that exploit. But it's just that running all the time feels like it's like a stealth game mechanic. It doesn't. I don't think it's conducive to the genre, and that's why, like, well, tragically, I feel like my favorite genre is kind of extinct. We'll see in a few weeks
Hey,
with
it
Resident
can
Evil 8.
always come
I'm really
back. I
excited.
mean, the CRPG genre was extinct until 5 years ago, so you never know. If it becomes that obscured, maybe they'll get their own Kickstarter fund.
Well, they do. Like, I know that that's what CRPGs have, and I know that survival horror. Like, I have a few like kickstarted CRPGs, a few kickstarted survival horror games, but they tend to be like kind of like jank, like a little too jank. Like I know that if I go back and I play like Resident Evil 1 with tank controls, it feels a little stiff. Or if I play Silent Hill, the combat feels bad, but the combat feels bad, and it's good in that context. It doesn't feel quite right when in modern games where the Kickstarter ones, I find that either there is no combat at all, or what's there, it feels like it's trying to be action oriented, but doesn't quite hit that mark. It's just kind of like an area where I have to just pray that there's going to be someone makes one series that takes off. But because you three aren't like super into it, that's just goes to show that the market is a lot smaller. So
Yeah.
there's less people making money off that, unless you put a sexy vampire lady in it.
I was
Of
muted
course.
this whole time. I want to say that you aren't alone. I'm a huge fan of horror. Played the shit out of it. I actually just re-downloaded Resident Evil 4 because I got the inkling to play it the other day. But yeah, big roots in Silent Hill and all that. Used to scare the shit out of me as a kid, and now I can't get enough of it. Resi 7
Yeah,
was
okay,
great.
good.
Fingers are crossed for Resi 8. I saw like a little. I think there was like a gameplay reveal today, like a 20-minute demo.
Did you play the
And-
demo that was out yesterday?
I haven't
2 days
touched
ago?
I haven't played it myself because I don't want to take anything away from when the game actually comes out. I'm
Okay.
holding my cards close to my chest, but I did sneak a little peek here and there, and like it's looking pretty good.
I played the demo. I'll just say it's good.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. It's good, man. It's
I'm
fun.
a happy
Like,
camper.
so far, from what I mean, the demo I played in like 27 minutes. But from what I experienced, I think we will have a good game on our hands. It feels a lot like Resident Evil 7 in many regards, but bigger budget, if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts on genres? Or are we ready to move on?
Yeah, then we can move on.
Okay. Here's a simple one. What was your first game / system?
Oh
First
boy.
Game / system.
Counting PC or console?
Sega Genesis and
Anything.
Sonic.
Anything. Like whatever was your first overall. Console or otherwise. 'Cause for me, it's PC, because I was born into this master race. And my first game was Star Wars Dark Forces.
Oh yeah, eh?
Nice.
Class.
I love
Well,
Dark
it's a nerd.
Forces. I love Dark Forces so
Just
much.
like, oh, Star Wars and Doom? Okie dokie.
Dark Forces was so
Fuck,
good.
that's the crossover we need.
I remember getting that game like in a cereal box
Yep.
with another game that was like a TIE fighter game.
Yeah,
Star Wars Sci-Fi?
probably.
No, actually, hold on. I think I have it on my PC, do I? I don't. The fuck am I doing with my life? Hold on, I'm
Very
gonna
good
have to look
question,
it up.
yes.
Wasting it clearly.
I know,
Clearly.
right? Star Wars, yeah, sure. Oh man. Okay, well, my first system was a. Okay, I had access from before I was born to a Nintendo because my sister had a Nintendo, and I had a collection of like 20 games for it. But my personal first system was a Game Boy, the good old chunker with the 4 AA batteries, just to get that dark
The
screen
brick.
running. Oh man, my little tiny baby arms weren't able to hold that thing for more than a couple hours.
Of course.
I mean, I built some muscle mass playing that thing, and my first game was the Mario game that came with it. But I guess
Mario
my first
Nice.
addition to it, and probably the first game that I really gamed on, like binge gamed on, was Pokemon Red.
Nice.
Wow, you guys, and you're starting with the classics. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what did you start on, Julian?
It's a little okay. I really don't want to go into a long-winded thing here. It's a bit complicated because, like Louis said, I was kind of born with certain things here, but they're not things that I really got to choose. Like I was born into I had a PC. It wasn't a gaming PC, but I played on it, and I had an Atari 2600. It was my dad's. Yeah, so that was like the first stuff that I had access to. But on PC, like I was like playing like Addy Boo and Clue Finders and like educational games. But my first,
Oh, fucking Addy Boo. Ugh.
what I'm talking about, like that's technically speaking, I don't want to say that was my first game, but like that's the first shit I was playing with like floppy disks for my saves. And then my dad like they didn't want to get me games because they were afraid I would like be obsessed or something, or whatever.
Well,
I
That's
guess they were right, though.
Yeah. Where did they get that from? I wonder.
But my dad like also had a bad habit, and I stopped with this. But back when PC games used to be sold at like all these stores like Bureau and Grow, he used to kind of like buy tons of them on sale, and he's like, "Oh, I'll play this one day." Kind of like me with Steam sales. So he would just do that a lot. But the thing is, he accumulated like to this day, I still really haven't seen all of them. But he just bought like tons of PC games, and one time he just came home with like what's it called, a compilation disc of it had Earthworm Jim, Return to Zork, Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure, and Shanghai. So I became into Earthworm Jim. I think I usually consider that to be my first like real video game. And
Nice.
on console, it's like it's super weird too because like I got a GameCube and a PS1 as sort of my first consoles, but I'm not gonna get into the whole story, but basically those are my two firsts. And on console, my first games were Symphony of the Night on PS1 and NHL Hits 2002 on GameCube. So those are like I kind of equate them all with each other because it's like, well, it was a weird time. Like I was just sort of playing whatever the hell I can get my hands on, to be honest.
It's fair.
Yeah, I can relate to that idea because I had like I said, I had that Nintendo, but like when I'd be playing it, like I'd be playing Duck Hunt and Mario, and there was a bunch of other games in there that were just too difficult for me to get into. But then I got my Game Boy, I started playing Pokemon, and then I was like, I think I understand how video games happen more than I did before. So I went back to the Nintendo, and that's where I found gems like Faxanadu, like Final Fantasy, like a lot of the other games that I just didn't get started making sense. And like to this day, Faxanadu is like one of my favorite games because it was like, in retrospect, I can clearly see that it was a huge precursor to my liking the Dark Souls games so much. Because both in its aesthetics and its in punishing difficulty, it was just so good. It was just tough because it was like 4 or 5 and like.
Yeah, I kind of respect you for like being like that's not the shit that I was playing as a kid at all. Like playing a game like that complex, I could barely get through a children's adventure game. Like I was playing like platformers and stuff because it was like a little simpler to understand what's happening. But all the stats and like games like Faxanadu, it's like.
Yeah,
I don't think I would have been able to take that, to be honest. I also just wanted to mention that as a fun fact that in like about 6 years ago, my brother was in the basement doing band practice, and he called me down to the basement. He's like, "You're gonna want to see this," and he had found one of my dad's games that he bought during his like sale purchases, and I have a sealed copy of System Shock 2. And he was like, he's like, I'll play it at some point, and he never did. So he's just like, Julian, did you know we have System Shock? I was like. Where did you find
A
this?
sealed copy.
Dude, that's worth a little.
I have it in my room.
I was gonna say, fuck playing it. There's your retirement right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
that
unfortunately
valuable,
not worth.
but
It's not that valuable, but it's a big box and sealed. It's worth probably like $100, but
still a
but
nice
hey,
collector's
For a
item.
game of that
Yeah,
age,
exactly.
it's really good.
I wish I still had some of those big 90s PC boxes.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
man, yeah.
So classic.
it's the only one I have actually, and it's sealed. So I'm just like, well, that's it. Like that's it. And I'm a big fan of BioShock. System Shock being a precursor to BioShock, it feels like a fancy thing for me to just have up there with my Songbird.
It makes sense. All right. Was that everybody went? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Next. All right. This is cross. Shit. Okay. Another. All right. This is across all generations. Simple question. Maybe a simple answer. Favorite console. Single console. So like not saying I love all the PlayStations or all like which single console is your
Gotta say Nintendo 64. I don't even have a choice in the matter. I think of like all my favorite games, and I think of my favorite era of gaming. That's gotta be it, hands down. GameCube's a close second. It's always, I mean, basically, yeah, it's Majora's Mask. I mean, I won the first console that I owned was the N64 that I won at my dad's Pfizer party, and it came with fucking Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. So I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a chance to not be a gamer. It's like it happens. It's like when my dad sat us all down as kids and made us watch all 3 Star Wars movies back to back.
Jeez.
I appreciate it now, but like,
like a punishment to me.
that's like borderline child abuse. You know what I mean?
That's it. We're watching Star Wars again.
That's-
Well, that was it, because like he rented the first one from the video store back when renting movies was a thing. And
I
he just
love
immediately
that
brought it
era.
back, like, oh, this one, it wasn't working, and then he just got the second one and the third one all in the same day. And yeah, my mother wasn't happy, but like I was ecstatic.
Man, I'm struggling
Your
between
dad did nothing
two.
wrong.
No, I know.
It's either
I'm
for
gonna
me.
do
It's
the same.
either the Super Nintendo or the Game Boy Advance SP.
Hmm.
Those are 2 amazing consoles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? It's funny you should say that. Those are 2. There's like a connection there, right? Like Game Boy Advance plays a lot of ports of Super Nintendo. So like it
Mhm.
makes sense to me that you would want to pick that one too.
And there was just so much like the SP was just like, oh my god, like I'd had every generation of Game Boy up until that point except Game Boy Advance because like I was about to get one kind of thing. But it's just like it did so many of things. Like it had the rechargeable battery like integrated
Yeah.
to it. It had the backlit screen that you can turn the backlight on and off. The Game Boy Advance collection of games is it's exhaustive, it's extensive, it's got plenty of good games on top of being able to play everything retroactively. So it was
Yeah,
just
it's
like
true.
everything you want, you got it kind of thing. And it
It
was
was my
so
first
good.
handheld.
And like I want to say this, but the reason I can say this is because, like you said, a lot of the games on that library are SNES ports, and SNES. Like I don't think I can draw a list of all the good games on SNES that I've played because I've played so much over the years. Like whether it be through the actual system or through emulation, it's just like it's heavy. It's a heavy collection to get
Yeah.
into, and there's just a lot of good things. So it's a tough call between these two, and for the sake of the argument, I think I'll stick to Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was just so good.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Well, for me, it's a little tougher because I'm a PC boy, so I don't have as much console experience, at least especially not when I was younger. So I don't have. I mean, I did have a 64, and that's definitely up there. But even at the time, I was still more PC, so it never like captured my sole avenue of gaming. But so with that said, I would probably say. Maybe I don't know, one of the either the original Xbox or the 360. Just the games I play. I mean, maybe the original, just because that's where I played KOTOR and Fable and a few other classics. Whereas like, I did have a 64 and I played, I had some games on there, obviously. But like I said, I was playing a lot of PC then too, and like nothing the 64 had could compare with Half-Life, so that was that. But yeah, so I'd say maybe the Duke. And with the, just gotta mention it.
With the big pappy controller.
Yeah, exactly. And also the PS4. There's just so many good games on the PS4 in the last few years that I have to mention it. So yeah, that was my answer.
Yeah, that's fair. I honestly, I know I have very little experience with the original Xbox, so it's interesting to hear about that. It's like one that was really not part of my childhood or even part of my life at all. So
I had
like
to pause just to marvel at the glory of how massive the controller was. Like
my God,
holding
yeah.
it in your hands felt like
Yeah,
it was monstrous. It was huge.
it was a
I don't
force
even
of
remember
reckoning.
why was it so big. Was it because it had the memory slot in the back?
No, they just wanted a big controller.
It was just a chunky boy.
Just a
also had a
big.
lot of weird buttons, like
Because
black
it
and white
looked
buttons.
like because
Yeah.
it looked like a Dreamcast Dreamcast controller on steroids
Yeah.
with like the huge Xbox logo dead center. I still have one of those chunkers somewhere, but yeah. Oh man, that controller.
Yeah.
Trying to catch up on those games on my Xbox One's backwards compatibility. It's like the only purpose of my Xbox One is for playing
Yeah,
all the
backwards.
past games I never played. 'Cause I've always been a Sony boy. And
Yeah, and
Playboy.
Sony's killing backwards compatibility like with a huge fucking two-handed axe.
they actually just announced today that they're not going to be shutting down the store. So I'm pretty
Oh
happy
yeah,
about that.
they
Yeah.
backtracked on it.
Yeah, they did just today.
They got
today
enough
they did.
internet
Good.
slack over the past few weeks. Good.
Or
I'm
enough
happy to hear
money.
it.
Either way.
Or yeah, exactly. Same fucking difference at this point.
Well, it's that I saw some articles that started surfacing that it was just like them shutting down the store is also like breaking the consoles in the near future because of a quirk in the code and the CMOS battery. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, this is the biggest pile of bullshit because changing
love
that
PS3.
battery could hardly be any easier. Me too, honestly. I like the OG PS3 like at launch was one of my favorite consoles because it integrated so many neat things. Like it was the first console to have Blu-ray. It had like SD card reader and micro SD card reader. It had backwards compatibility with the Emotion engine of the PS2. It had everything going, and then they started putting the axe to it just for the sake of affordability.
I still think that like I had an old fat PS3, but I had the fat version without the PS2 backwards compatibility. So I never had that, but I just left my PS2 plugged in. However, I think the problem they had like a defect. The original PS3s, like I find that they were prone to the yellow light.
Yeah.
I lost mine twice. I had it fixed and lost it again, so I just got a super slim, and it's lasted me since then. It's definitely flimsy and not as pretty as my big UFO that I still have. But yeah, well, PS3 isn't my. By the way, my favorite console just to get that done is PlayStation 2. I still think
It was
that
classic.
Yeah.
just like the feeling when I first got it too of just like the jump in graphics, but more than anything, and I think this will just forever be the case. I just think that the variety of experiences of games you can have on PS2 was so dramatic. It's like, yeah, you want to play an action platformer, no problem. You want to play a city builder, no problem. You want to play PC ports, go ahead. You want to watch a DVD, you could do that too.
Yeah.
You want to go on the internet if you have the module, nothing's stopping you.
Oh, actually, I had the module and it was still stopped because I didn't have an Ethernet like connection close enough.
Oh no.
I had the I still do have the adapter, and you can even put a hard drive in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool things
That's
you can do with that console, and it was backwards compatible with PS1 as well, which was always like, it's kind of nice. But PS2, it's just like there's no dead genres. Survival horror was in its prime, which is my favorite genre, and I mean rhythm games were happening, platforming games, action games, Metal Gear Solid, Devil May Cry, Hitman, Persona, Mega Man X, maybe not so much. Guitar Hero. But
Yeah, don't talk about those. Don't talk about those.
But there's just like even games that didn't do so well, but there's just so many interesting ideas. God, I love it. There's so much there's so much imagination distilled. Like throwing ideas at a wall and seeing what stuck was like in its prime at that time. Like
Yeah,
so
the
much
PS2 was
variety.
such an accessible platform, like not just on behalf of how much the console cost, but like developing on it was apparently extremely easy. The development kits weren't expensive, so anyone with a few dollars on the side could purchase one and just start developing for PS2. And like,
Explains a lot.
there's a reason it was like up until recently it was, and I still think it holds that record, but it was easily the most selling console of all time. Like you could buy a CD of Linux and run a computer off of your PS2 with proper peripherals, with a mouse and keyboard, and like you could turn your PS2 into a very functional computer just out of the box, like no mod required. You just gotta have the proper CD and just off you go kind of thing. And yeah, PS2 was beautiful. It was a good console.
Yeah.
It's my fave.
I need to pee real quick, and then I'll ask the next question.
Cool.
Again, I will take this opportunity to go pee as well.
Yeah, I think I'll do the same thing actually.
I think I'll get a refill on the drink.
I have returned.
Welcome back.
And we're back.
I found the unfinished area in Valheim. Oh. What did I just crash? Nope. Okay, no, just save. But yeah. Well, the game is certainly chugging with me being here.
Doesn't want you there.
I mean, it doesn't. It is unfinished content. Oh. Hey, the storm stopped for a second. That's nice. Nice of it.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Back.
I think we're all here.
All right.
Yep.
Next question. It's another juicy boy. Which game has shaped you the most as a person?
Demon Souls.
Ocarina of Time.
What the hell? How come you guys are so ready for that?
I feel like this question's been asked to me in the past, or like I've at least considered it.
For me, it's that the answer's so obvious I don't even have to think about it. I can
Okay.
still feel the effect of that game on me every single day of my life.
Yeah, and not to put any more pressure on you, Julian, but my answer is Half-Life.
Fuck. Okay, Bioshock. That's it. I don't care. It's Bioshock.
There you go. It wasn't so hard.
All right. Next question.
I mean, we can elaborate if you want, but
Yeah.
if you ask just
I know.
Cliff Note answer, that's Demon Souls.
I mean, I'll put you like Half-Life. It's just the atmosphere, the aesthetic of it all. Like, I'll look outside, or I'll be riding in a train one day, and I'll just look, and like the sun setting at just the right time, and whenever I see the weather at a certain point, I always think of the atmosphere of Half-Life 2. Like it's always there. And like sometimes I'll just be sitting outside smoking a joint and being like, out of the blue, like, man, I wonder what it'd look like if a Strider just started strolling across my neighborhood right now. Or what would it look like if there was a citadel big and imposing in the distance? Like I have a love for like big and imposing like structures and game worlds and stuff, and I think it comes from that, because just seeing that there like all the time throughout the entire game pretty much, and then finally going there at the end, it's just like it's part of my DNA.
Honestly, I feel like I might even want to change my answer because I feel like it's a bit knee-jerk. I do like Bioshock is definitely up there, but I think I almost want to pick Resident Evil 4
Oh, baby.
because I remember. Okay, listen, I was. My parents tried their best, okay, with this whole thing. With the whole, let's not like get him into anything he doesn't need to be into. That's gonna, get in the way of the studies. And they also tried to not introduce me to anything that's a little too, adult.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I remember I'd even borrowed like Grand Theft Auto, and like I played it for like 5 minutes, and they're like, "What are you playing?" I was like, and then like I had to give it back. But then, yeah, I never got to play San Andreas. I still haven't. But like that was when I was going to play it, and I never did. But then my brother, who's older, who doesn't play games quite as much as I do, but he still played games, especially when we were younger. He just came home from his friend's place, and he's like, "Hey, I just borrowed Resident Evil 4," and I had never played Resident Evil. I didn't know anything about Resident Evil. But and again, I also had not played any horror games ever in my life. I'm going to say 10 or 11 years old, maybe. And so this was kind of intense. And I remember, there's very few points in my life where I remember like feeling like a kind of loss of innocence, where I'm not sure what I'm doing is okay. Like I'm not sure if I'm allowed to be seeing this, or I wasn't sure if I was scared or excited by what I was seeing. But like have you guys played Resident Evil 4 at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I literally just finished reinstalling it.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
It's true. So Louis as well. Jacob, have you played RE4?
No.
No, Jacob's only experience was being forced into playing Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's not the best way to play it.
No.
No.
I definitely appreciate it for what it is, but It's not something I ever got on the train for.
So the thing I was gonna say was in 4, the beginning of that game is like, especially for a kid, is like the most stressful, terrifying thing.
Oh god, yeah.
At the just the village, like that part of Resident Evil 4 when you're trapped in that town, and there's a guy with a chainsaw. Oh my god!
Oh fuck
The
yeah.
stress of hearing that chainsaw getting closer and closer, and the door being chainsawed down. And like me and my brother we're literally children. We're not even teenagers.
Yeah,
we're just
exactly.
we're like up late, me and him in front of the living room television, just like with the GameCube control, being
Ugh.
like, "Oh, run to that house." I said, "I already did that house. The door's broken." And we're climbing up on the roof. We're like, "Push the ladder down, push the ladder down." And then like you turn around, he's right there, and he chainsaws your head off, and we're just like,
Yeah, exactly. It was so visceral too. Like god damn.
yeah. More than
Ugh.
5 doesn't even show. 5, when you get your head
Yeah.
chopped off, it doesn't show you everything. It kind of cuts away a little bit, like he doesn't show you the neck.
Yeah.
In 4, you literally see like every detail of
Everything.
your head being like cut off, and then the head
Ugh.
toppling behind you, and your body limply falling. Like going from playing, let's say, Star Fox Adventures,
Yeah.
was a little
Big di-
a little
just a bit.
intense.
Just a bit of a difference.
It's a little jarring, just a little bit.
And that impacted me though, because I think from that point onwards, I became a lot more comfortable with adult stuff, and I wasn't like people think that games make you violent or whatever. And I'd been playing like that, like, and I didn't become violent or weird from playing a game like that. I just was more open to trying out games that were a little more adult, and I think that maybe led me to being more comfortable playing a lot of the games that I play these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we all have a similar moment, but some less profound. Because for me, I mean, like I just jumped right into like not for my age group games. Like,
Yeah, me
like
too.
Half-Life was one of the first games I played, and I could definitely say I had that moment with that. Because Half-Life is definitely a strong M-rated game.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah,
it crabs.
head crabs,
Zombies.
fucking tentacles, zombies that have their insides out. It's great.
Yeah,
I loved it. And
it is great though.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. I know what you mean when kind of gave you permission to experiment, so to speak.
It's not just experiment. You know what it did, and I feel like maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion a little bit, but like it gives you as a kid an opportunity to like. I was a pretty fearful kid. I think I got scared really easily by things. I couldn't sleep at night because I'd be spooked by horror movies or even movies that weren't horror movies. Just spooked all the time.
Mhm.
So Resident Evil gave me the chance, and this is probably why I like horror so much as a game. Is it gives me a chance to fight the things that scare me. It's like confronting the things that
Yeah.
you're scared of, and I think that there's something really thrilling about that, and it's kind of like. It's a very positive
Well-
experience, like looking at a monster in Resident Evil and blasting its face off feels really good.
It's interesting that you say this because for me, the answer of saying Demon Soul is very much similar in that.
I get that completely.
Like I had like there were plenty of games, Faxanadu to name one, where it's just like, yeah, okay, you play the game and like the first few overworlds are easy enough. Like the enemies are kind of hard to beat because you kind of have to learn to predict them. But all in all, like the soundtrack is cool. Like it's poppy, it's cool. And then you get into the dungeon and like there's this right away like the color palette changes to something a lot more eerie. The music shifts from something very adventurous to something very tense. And then you get to the first boss and it's this like draconic like gargoyle aberration kind of thing with the soundtrack that like if you're 4 and you're playing this and you're not stressed, you're a psychopath.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
Psychopath
just like
4-year-old.
I didn't have it in me to push through to the very end at that time. Not because I didn't feel like it was worth the fight, but just because I was kind of ADD as a kid, so it was hard to keep me just sitting down playing the one game. And then I met Demon Souls, and I learned the true meaning of resilience when I played that game, because it was just like, it was an uphill battle from the first moment to the last kind of thing. And it taught me so many things about what I thought I knew of myself and what I actually am as a person. That's just like you can never take that from me anymore. Like it's done. I know that I can do things if I set my mind to it. And that's something that I struggled with my entire life. Like having the self-esteem of just continually trying something that you failed and failed and failed. Like sometimes very miserably, sometimes less so, but like just that notion of keeping on pushing just cause just because you got that fucking idea in your head that you were gonna do it, and I'll fucking be damned if I die trying. I'll do it, kind of thing. I didn't have that before Demon Souls, and I try to carry that with me everywhere I go now.
It's interesting. I have heard that before also. Like I've heard people explain like even one person one of the YouTubers I watch, he was explaining how Dark Souls helped him with like depression, like knowing that like he can overcome things that he thought were impossible to overcome. And I think that's like a really positive way of looking at it. It's something that I probably
Did you
didn't
just
even think
dig for
about.
Bedrock?
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I was a little.
Yeah, well, I'm on creative, so
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know that's possible.
No.
Yeah, sorry, Julian, you were saying.
No, it's okay. I was also kind of like baffled. For a
The
second.
Yeah,
What's
no, I
happening
didn't
right
know it was possible in any way, shape, or form. So I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck just happened?
well, there you go. Now you know.
Okay. I'm learning. But yeah, no, I was pretty much done what I was saying anyway. Like,
Yeah.
just like the inspiration of like seeing Dark Souls as like I can do it if I put my mind to it kind of thing is really. There's like weird positive things you can take out of games like this that I feel like people really just don't. Like, the average person who doesn't play games maybe really like it's hard to see this. Like I feel bad because I feel like there's so many misgivings about the medium, and I feel like if only they could see these positive things people get out of them, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. I agree.
How the fuck did I? Oh my god.
All right.
Jesus.
Okay. I got one that, was a bit of a two-parter, but could be the same answer. Actually, we'll start with one part. Least favorite game of all time.
Oh no.
Of all time.
Ooh.
Doesn't have to be something you beat. Could be something you played and you were just like, no,
Just this is not for me.
this is just trash.
Man. It's tough. It's tough because I'm usually very, like, I never had access, like, as much as I do now. I never had a lot of access to a lot of games. So it's like, I tend to cherish most of the games I had, regardless of how much I liked them or not, just because, like, it was what I had kind of thing. But, wow, worst game.
I feel like I'm way too positive. Like I usually see the silver lining in so many things. Like, even my least favorite games, I feel like they're like but
They
there's
still have
this.
value.
I think every game I've ever
I mean,
played has value, even the worst ones.
Did
but-
you ever play Superman 64?
I did. Yeah, that game was no. That
I was
that
fortunate
deserves
enough
no
not to.
defense. That game was absolute
Yeah.
trash.
But I don't think it's like I feel weird picking it. It's like it's not necessarily good, but it's like it's just like I shrug my shoulders. I'm like whatever. It's just like
It
It's
didn't
just
have
very
a chance
meh.
to be good, basically. Like
it doesn't. But the thing is, it doesn't have you doing anything. Like I played ET and I've played Superman 64. Like I played like
I
the
played
Notorious.
ET like for anthological reasons.
Exactly. That's
So,
the same
like-
reason. It's like they're bad. I don't know if I want to qualify them as like my like I. It's weird because you know what? There's things that I think you can objectively call bad games, and then there's things where it's like this is my least favorite
Yeah.
gaming the game.
Yeah, if you want to make that distinction, and by all means. Because
I might
agree.
be able to do that.
Let me open up the old emulator.
So Superman
folder.
64 is definitely the worst game I've played, just from a pure mechanical perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
My least
I
favorite
can respect
game?
that.
Well, I can throw three at you off the top of my head.
Please. Oh, I already know one of them. Fuck.
Yeah, well, you got Mass Effect 3, you got Last of Us 2, and you got Dragon Age 2.
Because of what they did to their respective series, or because of anything else in particular?
Well, I don't think I need to answer that with Mass Effect 3. I think we know.
But I mean, but you think that like because like I get that you don't like the way Mass Effect 3 ended a lot of things,
But the
do you think-
gameplay was still the gameplay.
the gameplay was fine, but I would still and have argued since day one that the ending was hardly the only problem with the game. It was definitely the worst
Right.
problem with the game, but it really just, to me, exasperated a lot of the other problems that were there already. I had issues with the game before I finished it. Not enough that I would have gone into a depression and then completely disowned the franchise. The ending did that, but enough that it was still going to be my least favorite in the trilogy, unless they had somehow nailed the landing on the ending, which obviously they didn't.
yeah.
But even outside of the ending considerations, it's still my least favorite in the franchise, and because it's of the ending, it's one of my least favorite games ever. Whereas Dragon Age, it was more just like, it was just like, let's just take a good game and just make it bad. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it. Like, it was so lazy, so rushed. Like, not like other rush jobs where they like tried their best. Like, this was just like, this was the first real sign of what was to come under BioWare and EA. Like, it was the first real red flag, and yeah, it wasn't enough to save me from Mass Effect because nothing was going to convince me that was going to be bad, except for itself.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, yeah, that was definitely, especially in hindsight, an enormous red flag, and as such, I really don't like Dragon Age 2.
I think the writer
think-
recently posted about it, saying what he would do differently.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Like,
Oh wow, really?
yeah.
Interesting.
I think your answer is helping me decide what I'm gonna say.
Well, here, you know what? I'll also morph another question here because I have a repeat answer. Because it may not be your least favorite, but you can also consider what was your biggest disappointment.
I think they
okay,
go
that's
hand in
different.
hand for
Yeah,
me.
exactly. So we'll throw it in there because obviously for me the biggest disappointment is Mass Effect 3.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
funny. Mine's
wasn't-
also a 3, but it's not Mass Effect. It's
Yeah.
Parasite Eve 3.
Oh, their birthday?
Yeah, it was garbage. It took everything that was good about Parasite Eve, put it away in a box never to be opened again, and did a game that was completely other, just reusing characters and like ideas like of the lore kind of it. But it completely took everything I loved about the game, threw it into the garbage, stepped on it, spat on it a couple times for good measure, and walked away. Like it was bad. It was really bad. Parasite Eve 1 and 2 were like some of my favorite games on the PlayStation. So getting to third birthday and playing that kind of like cover shooter with like not for me.
Okay, I think I could pick mine as well now. I think that my biggest, the game I disliked the most, it's a tie between the two maybe games I doubt that either anyone here has played, but 30 Flights of Loving and Kentucky Route Zero. And it hurts me a bit to say Kentucky Route Zero because I really love the music, like the soundtrack is great. But I've never been. I'm a guy who loves story in games, but I felt so bored. I played through the whole thing. I'm like, maybe it'll get better, but it's just like, it feels like it's trying to be like a little abstract and a little like surreal, a little too hard. To the point where the story doesn't really feel very coherent, and it's just like kind of like weird and crazy for weird and crazy's sake. And I was a little disappointed with that. And 30 Flights of Loving. I don't know. Has anyone here even heard of that game before?
Cannot
No
say
idea.
that I have.
Okay, so I'll paint this picture for you. Basically, I didn't know what it was, but it was one of the top rated games at Steam at one point, like a long time ago. It was one of the highest rated games, and I read about it, and they were like, yeah, this game is like one of the masterpieces of storytelling. And again, being someone who loves storytelling, I'm like, well, I'll give it a go. And the designer is also considered to be one of the most renowned designers in the game industry. So I was like, well, I have nothing to lose.
How could
Like,
you fuck up?
Yeah, and it was really cheap. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
fine,
everything you're
I'll buy it.
describing now sounds like the kind of thing I would have wanted.
Jumped on, if anything, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a masterpiece of storytelling. All the critics are like raving about it. So I was like, okay, fine. So I bought it, I played it, and it came with a bonus game, and I played the bonus game too. I stopped, and I was like, okay, I beat it, and I was like, I didn't do something right. Like, this is on me. Like, there's something I'm missing. And I played it the whole thing again,
Oh,
and I was like,
Oh,
okay,
you
no.
know you got a doozy.
I was like, what's happening here? And I started like looking it up, and people are like, am I fucking crazy? I'm like, I don't get what. Like, I'll tell you the whole game right now, because it's incredibly short. Literally, it's a group of, it's no dialogue, and it's like, I mean, I have no problem with this part, but the no dialogue, Minecraft style like looking characters, like very blocky, square-headed characters, and they're going on a heist. And it cuts back between them, like the night before the heist, planning, and like the two lovers, and then at the end you get betrayed, and yeah, that's it. Like they're like, we're taking the money. They don't say it, but like they just leave the money and they abandon you, or like you get caught by the police or something. Honestly, I don't even remember. It was like, I know you're driving down a highway at one point and like they find you and you're like, we're done, and then that's it. Like that's the game. There's no actual gameplay element. Like you don't play it, you just walk, and it's like done in like 20 minutes.
Ah.
And even the bonus game, was a little more interesting, but it was the same idea, but a little longer. And again, like it just feels like an experimental, like 5-minute sort of thing. And I was like, okay, you can't. Like, I feel insulted that you think that this is like what is groundbreaking here? Like, I don't even think it's not even bad. It's just that like it was like, I think it was blown out of proportion how good it was. And this isn't like pre-release. This is post-release. Critics are like raving, like 30 Flights of Loving, or a masterpiece of storytelling. It really shows. I'm like, what is it? What does it show? I'm like,
what's it doing?
I don't get it. I'm like, and I've gone back and back and back to do it. And I'm like, I just don't understand. And with that, I will say, biggest disappointment: Mass Effect Andromeda. That's my conclusion.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, okay, so there's the obvious, which are games that are disappointing because, you know, they're just bad.
Because expectations are what they are.
Its expectations are what they are, and also just like some games are bad. That just that's the sad truth of it. It happens. My most disappointing game is actually a bit more of a recent one. It's Paper Mario Origami King.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Which is a shame, because I absolutely love the Paper Mario series. I think it's like one of Kojima's fucking wait, Kojima? Yeah, Hideo Kojima.
What are you talking about?
No.
Yeah, they're all
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
beat the podcast.
No one told me Kojima was making Mario games.
Yeah, right? Just wait. It's coming. Fuck my NDC. My NDA rather. I think it was the perfect answer to Mario. Mario in RPG form is amazing, and Paper Mario came with so much fucking character right off the bat. It was perfect. And then Origami came out and did a lot of things nice. Like, you know, the story was interesting enough, I guess. It was pretty, you know, cut and dry. Graphically, it looked beautiful. Environmentally, it looked beautiful. But it was such a different game than what I had fallen in love with years back. And I had gone with the fucking Paper Mario series. Like, Paper Mario 1 and Thousand Year Door were, like, the perfect ones. Had the formula right, with, like, deep RPG mechanics that weren't even, like, super duper deep, but there was this badge system that allowed you to still customize your character. And then I think it was in Paper Mario 3, the Super Paper Mario one, they started going back to more of a platformer style, and then anything past that, they just kind of lost their minds. And then to see them stray so far, like, the battle system wasn't awful in Origami King. I feel like it had some interesting concepts, but I mean, they took away the RPG element from an RPG game. Experience wasn't a thing anymore. You bought all your abilities with coins, and it just pooped the bed. It pooped the bed pretty hard, and it makes me sad. Number one disappointment.
Yeah, good answer.
Damn.
Like Color Splash?
I have not actually played Color Splash. I don't know. I've heard iffy things about it, to be honest.
Same. I'd love to find it. Like I'm hoping like I could find someone to buy it off of, because I want to see what's up with that one. That seems like a neglected one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Sticker Star, from what I understand, was just trash the whole way through.
No, Sticker Star is like, oh, that's a pretty big. It's not my biggest disappointment, but like when I got it, I was like, oh, sweet. Like 3DS is really showing up, you know?
Yeah.
Like 3D Land, Mario Kart, and like now I get Paper Mario, and I got it, and I was like, wait, this isn't good. Like I was playing like
exactly.
Wait a second, and I
Where
love
did
the
our character go? Yeah.
I even like Super Paper Mario. Like I like everything. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
I just like it. And then like I was like, well, this is gonna be good then, and it wasn't. It's not terrible. It's just like it just feels very soulless. Like it's like, what am I even doing? Like nothing feels like it's important. Nothing feels important. That's the problem. I would
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Good answers. Good answers. Did everybody answer? Did you answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Just want to make sure. All right. Let's flip the script a little bit. What was your favorite? It lived up to the hype moment.
Ooh.
Well, there definitely is.
Breath of the
Have to think
Wild.
about that.
I think they set him up and they knocked him down in a really satisfying way.
I would say, that's an interesting one. Cyberpunk 27. No.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
damn, dude. I would say probably Fire Emblem Three Houses. Fire Emblem is a series that's very dear to me, and when Three Houses launched, I played, and like I said, I loved every minute of it. It was good. It was probably one of my favorite, like, because the whole premise behind that question is that there had to have been a hype before.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
played a bunch of games that I was like, wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
And there are like 3 people on the internet that are talking about the game are right, but I don't call that a hype.
No, it's got to be
But
something.
Fire
that
Emblem, like
had some
everybody was looking forward to it. Like it was a very expected and a very awaited like Fire Emblem game for the Switch, and it was good. It was really good. Really good.
I'm just gonna throw out three of them: Bioshock Infinite, Fallout 3, and Persona 5 for me. Like I was like crazy hyped, like too hyped. Like I'm like this isn't healthy, and then I was like I got them. I'm like, you know what? I fucking love all 3 of them. I was like, I fucking love this. This is the best shit ever. I'm like, I know what when I'm hyped. This is the perfect litmus test. I'm hyped when I buy the most expensive collector's edition for a game. I'm like, I'm that committed. I'm like, I know this is gonna be good, and I'm wrong sometimes. But like when I'm right, it's like I bought the Songbird edition of Bioshock Infinite, and I love that game. Persona 5, I bought the same thing, and like the box with a little cat in it. And Fallout 3, I have the lunchbox.
Nice.
I love all 3 of those games.
Nice. Well, for me, it's The Witcher 3. Because boy, was I unhealthily hyped for that game because I had kind of created the. I almost, thankfully it lived up to the hype because if anything, I put, more so than the public was, because to me personally, this was like the industry's, especially from an RPG's perspective, redeeming moment after Mass Effect. It was like, okay, prove to me that this company that, I very quickly fell in love with their first 2 games, prove to me they're legit. Prove to me that they can do what the great BioWare couldn't, and that was finish a trilogy and make it the best of the trilogy.
Mhm.
And then they did that and then some, and I was just like, I don't think I could ever be that hyped for a game again, let alone that hyped and it pays off. And
Yeah.
it comes true. Because I was never that hyped, like relative to The Witcher. I was never as intensely hyped for Cyberpunk, and it's still obviously disappointed a great deal. But
Yeah, the thing about Cyberpunk is that in the early moments of playing the game, I felt like it lived up to that hype.
yeah,
That hype just died quickly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I still liked Cyberpunk, but I just don't think it's like it didn't live up to what I think I'd built for it.
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely The Witcher 3 for that. Yeah, okay. Next question. I know we're getting at the end of time, but I got a few little quick ones. Actually, before I do any of these other ones, I'll give the opportunity. Does anyone have a question they want to ask? Because I know we're getting close to Louis' cutoff time, and my own for that matter. So yeah, now if anyone has a specific question that hasn't been addressed that you would like to ask, do it now. And
I
if
have
there
one.
isn't, or go ahead.
Favorite soundtrack?
That was on my list. Good call.
Ooh, favorite soundtrack.
Okay, that's brutal.
It
I
is-
know.
have to look at my playlist.
Music is my go-to for video games. If a game's
Yeah,
got a
I know what
good
you mean.
music, I can play myself through bad games just to listen to a dope soundtrack. I've done it before and I'll do it again.
I know what you mean. I got definitely plenty on my mind.
Like most of the music on my cell phone
Oh.
is video game music, so it's hard
Same.
to pick from.
Oh, okay. I got 2, and they're kind of close together. Final Fantasy VII had some fucking bangers
Yeah.
back in the day. One Wing Angel will forever be like my favorite.
I
boss.
think that song's overhyped.
I know
It's
you
good,
do.
but I think it's overhyped.
Still,
I'm not saying it's bad.
I know. But it's a toss up between that and just Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 1
Yeah.
had a great fucking soundtrack.
When you walk away.
The classic Disney of it is just you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's timeless.
I mean, Doom. Doom's got a fucking great
Doom
sound,
is dope.
Oh,
It's so good.
right?
Yeah, super
Like
nice.
I still listen to the opening of Doom Eternal, like with the narration, because I love that little bit of narration.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like, let me just tell you how amazing you are and how much destruction you're gonna wrought.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is like, I think it was during one of the trailers, and it's like he's talking about the Doomslayer, and he's like, and he's referring to the demons. He's like, and the only thing they fear is you. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yes, that's cool.
The opening for Doom Eternal has this quote where it's just like, with all the wickedness that hell can conjure,
Oh yeah.
we will send on to them only you.
Yeah.
Rip and tear until it is done. And then fucking Mick Gordon does this masterclass on video game soundtrack that's just like punchy, so good. It fits everything so well. Like
Yeah.
you want to grab the shotgun and just shoot
Yeah,
in rhythm.
I
with
want
the
to
fucking
rip and
music
tear while
because
I'm
it's
listening to it.
Yeah,
you know?
so good.
So yeah, that's definitely a top one.
Oh, the Fallout games. I mean, I love the radio. I love the old times.
Does that
I know
really
you're not a
count,
fan
though,
movie, but I
because
loved that
that's
shit.
like not
Cool,
really
but
an
I don't know
original
that it's
soundtrack.
like defining best kind of thing.
And
For me, it's either close to a tomato in Nier Automata, and Loop Hero's giving me a good run for my money of having good tracks. I just don't know that there's enough of it. But Nier Automata has got some
yeah,
gems.
no, I was gonna
Oh,
say it. That
yeah.
may well be like as far as like a single game soundtrack. I think that's the best single game soundtrack I've like. Just like all the things it does with it too. Like there's a point in the game where I mean, for those who played it, you know, like there's that 16-bit minigame kind of
Yes.
moment, and then the songs transition that you're listening
They
to in the base
transition
game
to the old
turn
yes.
into
Oh
an 8-bit
man, yes.
version of itself for that. And I was just like, that's amazing. Like I don't even have like any sort of like hard nostalgia for 8-bit style music or anything, but I can
It's
still
the
be
little
like,
things you notice,
Yeah.
man.
and just like how some of the songs have like chants and stuff in them that kind of all relate to what's going on and the emotions and
They invented a language.
yeah,
If there was singing, it was always in that made-up language.
yeah,
I have to give huge shout out to Mega Man X123 because it was gold. I have to give huge shout out to Shovel Knight, the original, because the other DLCs basically just remix the songs, which is nice. But it's good because those original songs were so good. Like the intro level has this track called "Strike the Earth." It's just
my favorite
so good.
song.
It's
Yeah.
so good,
Hollow
man.
Knight.
It,
From,
it's
from
just
Shovel
so like so poppy, so jumpy. You really get into it. I also love the underwater level, 1,000 Leagues Below, and the Plague Knight level, Flowers of Anemone, which is just so good. But yeah, Nier Automata is just like
yeah.
if you want to listen to something rich and deep, like
and just unique, like as far as like, if I just to name one that was to me like the best video game soundtrack, that would be the one. But
like
also,
that carnival song that they have
Yeah.
when you get to the
Yeah.
oh man, Pascal's Village.
yeah, it's every
And, like,
the
oh,
entire
man,
album
it never ends.
It's
It
just
never
all
ends.
so good. And like the battle music is like upbeat
Oh,
and
yeah.
intense, like especially it fits so well with the fast, flashy combat of the game. Like it's one of those because a lot of soundtracks in games, even like really good ones, are just that. They're just the background music to the game. Whereas with games, you have the opportunity to make everything really interact with each other in ways that you can't with like movies and stuff. And Nier does that so well with its soundtrack, you know. Because like another favorite soundtrack, like Witcher 3 has some of the best video game music I've ever listened to, but it doesn't do anything different aside from just being like Polish flavored top tier fantasy music. But Nier is just like, okay, we're gonna give you a dope ass soundtrack. We're gonna make a fucking language for it. We're gonna change the style of it based off what you're doing in the game, and you're gonna feel every ounce of emotion that comes with that. And we did.
I also have to give huge shout out to Catherine because all of the tracks are classic tracks, but again reinterpreted to be like more modern, but also like sometimes a little more sexy because they're gonna have these Latin beats to them, and like it was just so well executed, especially in the puzzle game where the music is often the only thing. Like it's a factor of redundancy where it's something you have to be able to listen to often because not only are the tracks going to come back, but aside from the actions of you trying to solve the puzzle, it's often like the only thing you have other than the puzzle that's in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's just so good. Such a beautiful relationship between the game and the music.
Yeah, it's always special when you see things like that. Yeah. Julian, did you answer?
Nope. I would say either Hollow Knight, Hollow Knight and Undertale are like
Yeah, Undertale's really good.
my soundtracks where I was like, even honestly, okay, I know I'm saying like more than one option, but I'm destroyed by these questions. But like
I know.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night as well is just like brilliant. But like I think
Bloody
more
Tears
so,
is still one of my favorite tracks ever.
of course, that's a classic. Undertale, but honestly, my most recent one of those games is Hollow Knight that I played, and I think it just does such a good job at like conveying the emotion. There's certain songs in that game that like your character is like so emotionless. Like you play as like this little cartoon guy, and like he's just not really like you're not getting emotion from him. But there's like Dark Souls, there's so much lore behind everything that's happening, and like a world that's clearly been like has been destroyed by something. It's been a calamity, and like the tragic like feeling that's conveyed through the emotion in the songs does such a good job at like giving you like if I made you listen to certain songs, and I said, what did you think? Where do you think you are? What environment are you in? Or like what's happening? You'd probably get a pretty close like well, your answer would be close to what it actually is. Like you'd be like, oh, that's definitely a boss song, and like but even in the boss music, you get like a tinge of sadness or like of like aloofness. Like there's some bosses that are like kind of playful, and some are more, they're tragic boss fights. And like even the environment, the soundtracks when you're in levels, like in Metroidvania games, you're traveling a lot. You're spending a lot of time in one spot. So to have an environment having a song like in Nier Automata where the song is so enjoyable to listen to that you almost like an area more because you're like, oh, I like that song. I hope I'll take the route through there because I want to hear that shit again. So yeah,
Cool.
Hollow Knight is fantastic. It's such a fantastic game, man.
All right. Okay. I have one more question I could do to end it off.
Yeah.
Did someone else have
I think we.
anything? Okay. So a little cliched because we're at the end. But what was your favorite ending in a video game? Like which game like just brought it all together and you're just like you there was no lingering like, oh, I felt like something wasn't done or unresolved, and just the way everything kind of comes together just
Or even if it
works.
did leave things unresolved, just a satisfying cliffhanger can be a satisfying
Yeah,
cliffhanger.
for sure. Yeah.
I think my answer is gonna surprise even myself, but Wind Waker. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker for me was like I had to kind of force myself to even play it because like nautical theme isn't something that I'm hugely drawn to, and there was a lot of things about that game that were kind of off-putting to me in the beginning, but then I started playing and I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And when it got to the end, it just ends on such a like badass sequence of events where you just fucking bury your sword into his face, and it's just like, yeah, no, it was very enjoyable ending, more than any of the other Zeldas, like hands down, or any other game for that matter.
Cool.
I'm gonna say a similar thing, but instead of Wind Waker, I'm actually gonna give it to Twilight Princess. I feel like it satisfied an itch so well. Like it had everything. It had Zelda as a character, but kind of more as a background character. If anything, this is the one that focused more on the sidekick, which in this case was Midna, who I think was just a beautifully made character. Yeah, and like it ends so beautifully, and there's that faint hope of like, maybe they can be together, and then she shatters the mirror, and it's like, oh my god, my everything.
No, what have you done?
Love is fake. It's bullshit. I never have, and then it ends, and like, it's so nice, and I feel like Zelda endings in particular kind of always do it for me. Nostalgia, obviously, kind of is the forefront there, but I think because there's this large quote-unquote timeline, and say what you will about the efficacy or the legitimacy of it all, but I feel like there's something so nice about knowing that this guy's story ended so that another one can begin. And
I don't know how I feel about Breath of the Wild ending. I wasn't a huge fan.
No, that one was less good. Yeah.
It's not as good, definitely. I don't know that I can call it bad, but I definitely didn't enjoy it as much.
It's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I'll call it a bad ending. Because, I mean, Ganon, just as Ganon himself, especially if it's like personality-less Ganon. I'm not even talking Ganondorf. Because, like, Ganon in, like, Link to the Past was a great villain. You know, he had character and such, and, like, you know, you didn't get to interact with him too much throughout the game, but, like, you know, he was there.
To an extent, it's safe to
Ganon?
say that Ganon and Ganondorf aren't the same person.
No, definitely
Like
not.
Skyward Sword being a thing. I don't want to get too deep into it, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, it wasn't satisfying. Like for sure, the whole game, the entirety of Breath of the Wild, I can say like there's some key changes I would make just to make it a more satisfying experience overall. Because the exploration was definitely amazing, but the rest of what was around it, like the one thread that got you through it, I have a hard time. Like 4 dungeons, like really? That's all you got?
And
I
dungeon
mean-
is a big word for those.
Yeah.
They're
And-
4 puzzles.
4 big puzzle. I mean, that's the thing, because I actually enjoyed to an extent some of the way that you would like kind of tilt the puzzle.
Oh, that was
and, like,
clever. It was
yeah,
good. There was just not enough of it.
And I
Give me
feel
more.
like they shot themselves in the foot because normally Zelda dungeons are so creative to look at. They're so distinct, and these were distinct looking, but not from each other.
No,
They
Yeah,
all
they're
look
all the same, just with
thing.
different
they
layout.
felt very samey with a different color backdrop. Like one of them was
Like,
in the sky, so it's a little
yeah.
more blue. One of them was in lava, so it's a little more red. And
And it was down to the point that they just used like a Ganon Blight for each individual. Like, come on, how
Yeah.
unique are Zelda bosses supposed to be? Look at any past Zelda game, and they're
Like,
just
come
like
on.
oh, different flavors.
even before when there was like this notion of like recurring bosses, like Volvogia is a boss you fought before in the universe of Zelda when you fight him in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Like like I don't care. Like bring me the 2 witches again. I don't mind. They were cool characters.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
their fusion form was actually kind of cool, and I'd love to see it with better graphics and bigger tits or something. But like, I don't know. It's just because that's usually what happens when you give better graphics to a female model. It's usually just more curves. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
anything, give me anything but that. Like I don't mind the Ganon Blights, but not if it's going to be the only boss.
Yeah, they would have been a great mid-boss fight for each of those temples. Give me a mini-boss, they could all be a part of the Ganon Blight, and then when you beat them, you get a thing that allows you to finish the rest of the temple. But this, I understand this was them trying to change the concept of like, no, you have every tool from the beginning, which I think was interesting, but it kind of...
I would have fractioned it into a big bunch of tools you get in the beginning, and then a few that you get as you progress.
Yeah, some that maybe trivialize some of the more difficult aspects later. Like having the hook shot, I think could have been nice.
Let me
Climbing,
unlock the
especially in
square
the
bomb a
range
little
bit.
later.
Yeah.
Let me unlock the square bomb a little later, just so that I can take note of a puzzle that's like, I would need a bomb here, but a round bomb is going to roll down that hill.
Yeah.
And then you unlock the square bomb and you're like, this is so stupid, but so clever.
Yeah. No, that would have been great, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. Well, my answer for favorite ending, not a Zelda talk, but because that turned into a bit of a Zelda talk, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's got
likes
good
Zelda.
writing.
Yeah, my favorite ending has got to be, for me, at least the first one that comes to mind. Obviously, disclaimer for all these answers: if I spent like hours researching my thoughts, they may be different. But no, it's my favorite ending just for the way it brought everything together so well, and just felt so satisfying. Was The Witcher 1.
I like that ending. I like that ending a lot.
Yeah, like the whole, everything that takes place in the snowy place, like at the end there, you kind of get reminded of a lot of things, a lot of choices, and then at the end, the final confrontation, it was so concise and so well put together, and especially for a game that can at times be very difficult to follow, that they managed to wrap it up in so well in the ending instead of leaving it like obscure or random or whatever, was something I really appreciated too.
Nice.
Julian, I think, is the only one.
Yeah. I think I'll say it's, again, I'll have to give 2, but I think Last of Us 1. I love that it cuts on that. Have you guys all played Last of Us 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I don't care, so you can go
You don't
ahead.
care at all? Okay. It's just that it cuts on like Joel lying to Ellie, and he's just
Yeah.
like, and she's just like, okay. And it cuts on her just like you don't really know for sure if she believes him or not, but like you just have that to think on. It does what it needs to do, and like you have to sit with what Joel did at the end, and like you have to just think about it. I like the ambiguity of that. And Soma, I think it has like two endings. I don't really want to go too far into it, but it has like two different endings. Have you guys played it at all, or do you care about playing it? It's a horror game.
I don't mind.
Yeah,
Do you want me to not spoil it?
no, go for it. It's fine. I've got so many fucking games to play right now.
That's fair. It's a bit of a masterpiece, so I'll say that. It's just that like the game is basically an existential crisis in video game form, and the end of the game it's like about you accepting like, and I can't explain all of it now because it would take too long. But basically, you're able to clone your psyche, like copy and paste your psyche, and you get to see like at the end like it's like the apocalypse on Earth, and like you get to send a copy of your psyche into space. So the psyche, like the guy who you're playing as, like doesn't really get the whole copy paste thing. So he's like, "Yes, I'm gonna be saved. I'm gonna be saved." And then like the ship leaves, and he's like, "What happened? Like, why am I still here?" And like your partner's like, "Because you get it. You like it's like a flip of a coin. Like you're the psyche that was copied and pasted, but you're still here. The one that's pasted is the." And he's like, "No, this like there has to be a way to get out." And like just leaves. And game ends with him being trapped. And then the credits roll, and you're like left feeling like miserable. And then it cuts after the credits to the one inside. And he's like, "We made it! I can't believe we made it! I'm so happy!"
That's
and like, and you just have to sit, and you feel that game makes you feel like such garbage in the best of ways. Like there's a lot of moral choices in that game, and none of them matter. It's just like it's all like pointless, and it's just like a depressing ass, amazing horror game.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, even though I just told you tons of shit that happens in it, I still think there's so many moments that I didn't mention that it's still worth playing. You can play on baby mode, and there's no monsters in it if you ever want to do that. Like it just lets you play without there being because honestly, the monsters don't really add too much. They're more like annoying than anything, but
Fucking monsters.
yeah,
All right,
they do what they do.
cool. Well, I think that's as good a spot as any to end our discussion.
If we have questions that we didn't answer, worst case we can tackle a few of them.
Yeah, I
another
still have a
time.
few left over, so we can definitely do another round of this at some point if we want, or a more focused one or something. But I got a few. Some are like little basic questions, but a few juicy ones in there still that could become discussions in of themselves. But yeah, no, good job.
Good talk. Good talk.
Yeah.
Anyone want to take a snap at our closing comments of our likes and subscribes and stuff? Want to try to establish ourselves?
So yeah, if you're on Twitch, remember to drop a follow. It's free. It's easy. You just press the little heart button. If you're on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you feel it's necessary, or if you have a question for us. And we hope to see you again next week for what we don't know our subject is going to be yet, but we'll find something. We're creative people.
We'll definitely talk about something.
You better be here, or I'll fucking kill you.
I'll find you.
Threatening our audience is a good to get a higher count there.
Yeah. All right. And remember, stay average, everyone.
Stay average.
Yes.
Is that our
I can dig
slogan?
that motto.
That's
I can dig
logo.
that motto.
Okay,
The slogan, hands down.
I'm just your
Don't
average
be
gamer, just
exceptional,
stay
people.
Stay
Yeah.
average, everybody.
That's the niche I'm going for. I'm not trying to be the best gamer on Twitch or anything. I'm just your average dude.
Oh,
Just your
that's
average
An average
funny.
dude having an average talk about your average game.
Yep.
That is funny.
All right, I'm gonna get off to get
Yeah.
some food into my face.
Yeah.
All right,
I
you
guess
gotta
I'll
work.
talk-
already.
Yeah, I do.
True.
I guess I'll talk to you guys tomorrow as Rios.
Yeah, so 4 o'clock, or well, I guess
4 o'clock
4-ish.
start as
Usual
usual.
time.
Yeah,
wherever that
same
plays
jazz.
out. Make
Cool,
sure
cool.
that everyone has to be super stoned though.
Yeah,
I mean,
4:20
yeah,
tomorrow, man.
Yeah, I'm
4:20
announced
tomorrow.
just for like I've been.
I just hope it's
working
gonna be
on it.
nice so I can go outside and smoke myself like back to back to back to back.
Yeah,
until
wish I
we
had a
start.
fucking laptop with a decent battery pack in it, or else I'd actually just play outside all day.
Yeah.
I wish I had a proper, like a good headset
Wish I had a tablet that wasn't garbage, because I could also take that outside.
Yeah.
Because like Roll20 doesn't require very much, you know. Like
No.
No.
my phone could theoretically do it, but it